Okay, so you are rising heroes in a land of magic and dragons. Stop me if you've heard this one before.
I haven't actually.
And you will really. Where have you been?
There be dragons.
You've been clinically dead for all the sessions, I guess. So, you're rising heroes in a place that we'll simply call the kingdom. It's sort of purposely vague for now, at least within the scope of this playtest, right? And a cleric of some repute, Clownic. Clownic is a cleric of the god of trade and travel. And he recently hired the three of you to eliminate a disruption of a trade route nearby. Apparently, about a week ago, as he mentioned, a nearby trade route was disrupted by these attacks that kept happening. They were persistent. Survivors from those attacks claimed that they were attacked by kobolds, but that the kobolds could breathe fire and could fly like dragons. So, in order to fix this, Clownic has hired you adventurers to travel, this trade route and try to eliminate the problem so that trade can flow freely again. Now, he has given each of you 10 gold pieces to use on equipment, and so on and so forth. And he has promised an additional 50 gold pieces each once you bring back proof of your success, whatever that may be. Right? Now, you know that this trade route lies east of Prelude, which is the city you're in right now. And it winds through the sprawling ruins of an ancient city-state known as Cerulean. Now, Clownic suggested that the lot of you travel the trade route to a village on the route itself called Canaria to gather information and prepare to, to defeat whatever this kobold dragon force, whatever it is, in order to take care of it.
Sounds like a team name. Kobold Dragon Force.
that was the name of our Super Sentai team.
Yeah.
Kobold the Dragon Force.
Yeah. Oh, that'd be awesome. Kobolds. Yes.
I mean, I'm sold on the idea immediately.
So, the three of you, as you are... Let's give you a little background. So, you are currently in Cleric Clownic's office. He's just explained all the following to you. He is a man in his early 40s. He has a kind of what you describe as kind of like a bowl cut, but something more sort of professional and formal than that, if that makes any sense. It doesn't look like...
He's got a fancy...
Yes, it doesn't look like Mo from the Three Stooges.
It's not just like hard grading.
The bowl cut and then sort of slightly, shaved sides and a chin beard is sort of like a dark blonde, and he's wearing a sort of a fine robe of decorated with various sort of baubles and trinkets that are sort of mild tributes to the god of trade and travel. And so he's explained all of this to you, and you three are sort of casually wrapping up this discussion and enjoying, a nice sit inside his office in the cathedral. Well, that's the state of it. Do you think you're up to it?
Yes.
Always ready to help a friendly guild.
Yes.
Excellent. I knew I would feel good about hiring the lot of you. Now, I don't know how much credence to give the survivors' stories. You understand? I'm working with the best knowledge that we have about this particular incident. What I do know is either man or kobold or beast or whatever. This trade must continue, otherwise places like Prelude, Canaria, and everything along the route will wither and drop off the vine, so to speak. We must make sure that trade continues. And to that, I ask that you eliminate any obstacles with any means necessary. Now, as you know, I'm a man of the cloth. Our god is a sympathetic god, a generous god. And so if there is a way to solve these issues in a place that is not at the tip of a blade, then by all means, please do so. I leave that to your discretion.
Of course.
Now, here are the 10 gold pieces I promised you, and each he hands you sort of a small pouch. And you can use that on your equipment, and you are more than welcome to stock up here before you make your way to the trade route itself. I will say that you're headed into have either of you been down that way before?
No.
I wouldn't expect so. People don't tend to... the average commoner doesn't tend to move around the areas of the ruins of Cerulean. There's still a bit of superstition about the place. Mostly the only travel that goes by or through those ruins are merchants who necessarily have to go through the travelled paths in order to get to their markets. But you will expect woodlands. You should expect fresh water, rivers and streams and so on, and a number of abandoned castles, fortifications, that sort of thing, the closer you draw towards Canaria. Cerulean proper. Corneria is along the route, and it's a fine city. I've been there several times. A bit secular for my tastes, but we can't all be bastions of faith like we hear or Prelude. Now, there should be somebody there in Corneria who can give you more information or who can help you. You might also be able to acquire some new equipment if that's necessary. Perhaps if your travel on the route has drained your stores, you may be able to replenish them. Now, do you have any other questions for me before I return to my services?
How long of a route is this? How many days, approximately?
Well, let's see. Well, the route itself can be completed in its entirety in a week. But I imagine that the time spent on this particular errand will vary greatly. Perhaps you will stumble upon these vagabonds immediately, or perhaps you will find them at the end of the road. I only wish that after, say, 2 weeks, of course, that you return and show me proof of your success, whatever that may be. Oh, well, not one of the pieces of the creatures or vagabonds, please. Something a little more palatable. Thank you.
Do they target merchants specifically, or just accost anyone who goes along the path?
Both, given that most, if not all, travel on the route is by merchant. Yes.
Merchants are usually without guard?
That's not so. Some of them, in their caution or their paranoia, do in fact bring guards, but those guards are often slaughtered. If so, then if not, then only one or so remains and escapes with the rest of the cart here to tell us the tale.
Of course. That seems we have our task set out for us.
Well, I ask that you be careful, you be swift, and may the god of trade and travel bless you. And he gets up, opens the door of his cathedral office, and gestures, escorts you out. As you're, worming your way downstairs out of the sort of all vaulted ceilings and fine marble of the cathedral, you find yourself on the streets of Prelude.
Well, if everybody has food, rations for the trip,
I think so.
then unless we wish to
Upgrade from a bedroll to a tent or something.
choice is yours. I don't mind a little rain.
We can always find a tree, hopefully.
Especially if they're a forest. So, shall we simply set out then?
Yes. I'm of a mind to set out.
Very well. Make our way towards a exit heading towards... Is it Corneria?
Canaria.
Canaria. Like
Canary.
in the mine shaft.
Well, C-O-N.
C-O-N.
E-R-I-A.
E-R. Okay.
Conaria.
Corner.
Ah.
Not,
Land of
not
colors.
Corneria, but Conaria. Anyway, so you're heading as you are traveling out to the outskirts of Prelude and heading onto the trade route, a well weathered and traveled sort of dirt and sand path that stretches into the wilderness. Why don't each of you describe what your character looks like?
Okay. Agate has...
Robot arms.
It's
I'm trying to
majesty.
think the proper style of it. I think it is more that kind of South Asian kind of martial arts gear.
The orange.
The more of the wraps
The more-
focus.
like a
I'm trying to think what
like
that
a
is.
Muay Thai
Yeah,
Kind of
fighter or something like that. Yeah.
much more of the wraps.
The gi.
Has the gi. Yeah. Has the simple gi on wrapped arms and legs.
Mhm.
Just extra padding for hitting, basically.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
I guess there's a pretty good photo of that.
Outside of that, has hair back in a ponytail, which goes basically down to probably waist.
Okay. Yeah.
Only mildly. Because this is like the standard. Except yours is more gi and
Whenever
Yeah,
you
but
mentioned the Southeast Asian
kind of like
no, like a
aesthetic.
Muay Thai fighter, I absolutely get not necessarily the character, but what he's wearing. Do you remember Adon from Street Fighter?
Let me Google that real quick.
Who's the guy?
ADON?
A-D-O-N, right?
Okay,
You
yeah.
remember he had the knee up?
Fighter.
He's got the ridiculous hair,
Yeah.
but he has the wraps on his hands and feet
Yeah.
and everything like that. That's
Yeah.
what I was thinking when you said.
Take those wraps and kind of mix it with that karate gi.
Yeah,
kind
so
of
like a
set.
combination of
Yeah.
Muay Thai and karate.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, cool. And you have the traditional long ponytail.
Yep.
Of course.
Well maintained, disciplined.
I can't wait for your deepest moment of shame where you're forced to cut it off and hurl it into a volcano.
Screaming somebody's name.
Yeah.
Phil!
Anyway. Okay, so that is what Agate
Agate.
looks like. What about Galahad?
It's definitely kind of like Vincent from Final Fantasy VII's kind of aesthetic,
Nice.
like that red and black
Mhm.
kind of aesthetic.
The full
With,
vampire
the
look.
Not really. It's more of just like the clothing rather than like
Okay.
the full aesthetic.
Okay.
And so since you're a cleric, are you dressed in a clerical fashion? Well, not you're dressed in like a filing cabinet,
Cabinets.
or no? You have
Standard.
robes on, or is it like
It-
leather armor, or what?
It's scale mail, but I think the guild is a little bit like more like non-religious than it is like.
Sure, yeah,
So
yeah.
so
yeah.
it's
Okay.
more like tradesman kind of.
It looks
look.
more like secular clothing than
Yeah.
yeah. All right, that's fine. Okay, very good. What's your face look
Face.
Gilbert Godfrey.
like? What a pull!
Oh, I
Always
think
a good pull.
Peter from.
We have to
Friends.
save the four crystals.
What's his name?
Oh boy.
Peter Bishop.
Oh, Joshua Jackson from Fringe.
Oh, okay,
right?
yeah.
Yeah. Okay, yeah, I can see that sort of
A
a
very... I'm trying to... How do you describe that face?
short brown haircut and kind of a
Yeah.
Yeah, there
Yeah.
you go.
kind of a
That
perpetually
5 o'clock shadow.
perpetually mildly upset.
Yeah.
Mildly upset, unmaintained a little bit.
Not full angry, but you can
Yeah.
tell he's
He's
disappointed.
just kind of disappointed. Yeah.
at all times.
Okay, that's Galahad. And what does Lucindra look like?
All right. She is in purple and black robes.
Mm-hmm.
She has raven-colored black hair, and it's in braids on the sides of her head.
Okay.
And
Like
2 braids.
Leia?
Yeah.
Or- okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
And she's got the glasses, and then it's like stock anime girl face.
So she has giant eyes and an
Yes.
incredibly small mouth.
And a piece of toast.
Yes.
And she also has a raven on her shoulder.
Okay.
Okay.
So on the spectrum between Lulu and Yuffie, where does she fall on the spectrum?
I see. Okay.
Because with the Raven, I'm pushing towards Lulu, obviously.
Oh, what would be a good if?
I mean, she's not a Riku, obviously.
No.
What about a Fang? Is she a Fang?
Not quite that bubbly crystal.
Fang from Street Fighter?
No, Fang from Final Fantasy X.
Oh,
There's
what's the
another
one from
Caesar.
Final Fantasy IV? The summoner.
Lydia? Is that
Yeah,
it?
I think
Yeah,
that's
it
her
might be
name.
Lydia.
That might be 5, actually. I don't know.
LYDIA? FF5? FF4, maybe?
Yeah, it's
It's
Final
four.
Fantasy IV.
Yeah.
I don't.
Okay.
Summoner's War. Fuck you. I don't know what this game is. Did I get it right? Was it 5 or 4?
4.
It's
It's
4.
4.
Okay, all right.
And then,
Yeah, the green-haired summoner.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah.
All right, that tells me things. Okay. Duly noted. Okay. All right, so this
Motley Crue.
this motley crew with a very clear color scheme makes its way out of Prelude and begins traveling down the titular trade route. Right. Your first couple of days, as your 2 or 3 days pass as you're traveling, you stop occasionally to eat, to harvest some water from a nearby stream. You see an errant animal or two, a wolf, and so on, but nothing that gives you even sort of the slightest sort of hackle raise. It all appears to be pretty uneventful, and frankly, pretty pleasant, actually. The weather actually holds up pretty well. You travel along one of these sort of bends in the trade route on the afternoon of the 3rd day. And you find yourself sort of met several feet down the route. You can see a wagon that's been stopped, and it looks like it has a broken wheel. Very clearly you can see sort of on the back end, one of the sort of wooden wheels of the wagon has been splintered and is clearly out of commission. It's not, unless it gets heavily repaired or replaced, it's not going anywhere anytime soon. You see, well, actually, everybody make me a perception check, please.
Hopefully they didn't hit a pothole and break their axle.
Nope. 7.
13.
15.
Okay, so the two of you, Lucindra and Galahad, you note, well, all of you see a man with a scraggly beard and a red cloak standing on the road in front of the wagon, and he is shouting at presumably the occupants of the wagon. See, he's demanding valuables, and the travelers inside the wagon, you can hear in sort of strained voices are pleading for mercy. Please don't hurt us. And the two of you, Galahad and Lucindra, you spy 4 cloaked figures, not camouflaged really, but they are sort of attempting to stay somewhat hidden. They're standing in nearby tall overgrowth, and they have crossbows trained on the wagon. So you can see here, we have got our big man on campus here, is shouting. And then we have our 4 cloaked figures in the nearby sort of overgrowth with those crossbows trained.
Are we coming, like...
You guys are coming in this way.
that way? Okay.
Yes. You're coming in from the south. So if you will place your adventurers over there, please. Here, perhaps? Here? Right there? Very good. So you've come across this scene, and you can see the red-cloaked, scraggly-bearded man. He is shouting, "Stand and deliver! Give up all your goods, or by God, we'll slaughter the lot of you, to a man and child."
I guess it's 10, 15, 20, 30, 35.
So what do you want to do?
5, 50, 50,
Agate,
60.
I think we should move in stealthily when Galahad draws their attention.
Bravely, of course.
Yes.
So you're defaulting to bravely. Is that correct?
Brave Sir Galahad.
Yeah. Very well. Okay. So, so who is attempting to come up stealthily on this party?
I mean, I'll give it a shot. I have Dex, but I'm not trained on it. I will play along.
It sounds like the scraggly bearded man is demanding not only their valuables but also food and any sort of supplies that they have as well.
Is the right cloaked
Yeah,
man number one?
That's number one. That's right.
Man, he's too far away.
He's got to take a couple of steps forward.
Yeah.
And then...
It's like 16.
Yeah. And you probably... Well, presumably we can see him.
Yeah.
That's not a problem. They should have sent a bard. Okay.
So if they haven't noticed, if you want to get to the side, I'll try to draw their attention.
Yeah.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
At least get the crossbows pointed away from the people in the caravan. We'll see if we can deal with this somewhat peacefully.
Oh, that's the plan?
I thought we were going to get the element of surprise on them and then
Yes, we take them
flip
out.
the situation. He did specifically ask to minimize bloodshed. And yes, they are threatening bloodshed.
Sure.
But it
We
hasn't
can bring
happened
them
yet.
in, but we have to subdue them.
Yeah.
I'm all for that. Perhaps we've found what we're looking for already. We will render them unconscious
We'll
and
see if
drag
they-
them back.
We'll see if they spit flames.
That'll be the thing, yes. Can throw these...
Brigands in jail.
grab the leader and throw the leader on the desk of this cleric.
In one piece.
In one piece, exactly. He didn't want parts.
No. No, we did not.
He didn't specify the quality of that piece, the wholeness of that piece.
Because we just like have a not a revified, but like a
Bit extreme, but yeah, I get where you're going.
So again, it looks like the four cloaked figures, which now that you've pointed it out, Agate, you've become aware of, are clearly keeping a trained eye with crossbows at the ready at the wagon, right? And they don't appear to be sort of varying their gazing. They're very clearly ready, just in case anybody tries to make a break for it, it looks like, to shoot them down. And you still hear the scraggly bearded man sort of to high heaven, shouting and growling. He's actually gotten up on the front of the cart now,
like the
where
driver's seat.
where the sort of driver's hitch is, where the rest of there's nobody, it appears, at least from your view, in front driving the horses anymore. They've all sort of retreated into sort of the main compartment. He's gotten on the driver's hitch, and he's like bouncing up and down and sort of like shaking the whole wagon, trying to intimidate them to give up their valuables and their food.
He's clearly not even doing a good job. Let's move around, hit the sides,
Yeah.
I got
grab their
the
attention.
the henchman from like 310 to Yuma.
Sort of,
Oh,
yeah. Okay, so if you want to move ahead stealthily, that sounds like a stealth check.
Yep.
Am I assisting?
How bad?
in
Oh,
No.
that's a good question. Are you giving us advantage by drawing their attention?
Because
or
I do have a
not?
little bit that I want to do.
Well, at
draw
least
their
do the
attention.
bit.
Because I'm going to have my warhammer, and I'm going to like shake it like a bell, and do like a hear ye, and cast Toll of the Dead.
Oh, nice.
Okay. All right.
You're giving red-caped adventures a bad name.
So So you, let's say that's you, right?
Yeah.
I'll have you there. Well, put you there.
Because it has to be 60 feet, so I guess it'd be up to number 4.
5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30,
total
35,
number
40,
4?
Yeah, so you're good. All right, so we'll do this simultaneously, right? So you do this. You put a foot forward. You rattle your warhammer, and you insult the honor and duty of our scraggly bearded man, and you cast Toll the Dead. Okay. So because of that, we got a little surprise round. So let's roll initiative. Natural 1, so 3. 3 for old Agate.
9.
I am
Mine for
fully
Lucindra.
trusting that we are stealthy and will not be seen.
10.
Well, I rolled
You got
pretty
10?
well.
10.
So.
10. Alright. So let us roll
I did
for our enemies. Well, they're not my enemies, I'm controlling them. Natural 20.
enemies of the night. Well, there we go.
Very good.
No, that's not the player killer.
Nope. Okay. So you cast Toll the Dead, and you're casting it on this one,
Yeah.
the one on the left hand side
So
in
it's a
the
wisdom
underbrush.
save.
Okay, so he will make a wisdom save. He rolled an 11.
That fails. It's only D8.
So what poor unfortunate thing happens to him?
1.
Yeah. So yeah, that's 1 point of necrotic damage.
So describe the effect of your Toll the Dead spell. What does it look like? As this bandit has trained his crossbow on the wagon, and suddenly,
Since I'm a Tempest, I think it plays heavily into like that kind of like storming, kind of like more thunder rather than like he's like very much hearing like the bells, and it's kind of making
okay.
him
So
frightened a little bit.
with the rest of sort of the soundscape of the trade route, you can hear birds chirping and wind rustling through leaves on the trees and the underbrush, and old Scraggly Beard shouting and rattling the wagon. You don't hear any claps of thunder, but that gentleman there, you see very quickly, he stumbles out of the underbrush into the path of the road, and you see him sort of like he drops his crossbow to the sandy ground and sort of holds his ears, and he's, where's that coming from? Very quickly you see everyone else turns, with the exception of the Scraggly Bearded man, who's really
Still
getting in on the wagon.
Just into carrot.
They all turn to look towards their freaking out friend. You guys need to make stealth checks, buddy.
I did.
Okay.
18.
18?
12.
And I
Only
imagine
12.
it's going opposite directions.
2 different sides I was imagining pincer
So,
in quotes.
which side do you want?
I was thinking towards me, just so
Okay.
it's easier for me.
Yeah.
Okay, so which way do you want to go?
This way.
5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30.
Can I dash with that, or does that work in stealth?
That's fine.
Huh.
I mean, you could dash with that, yeah.
So, I'll move probably about right here.
35, 40, 45, 50.
Yeah.
Okay. And then what about you? What about you?
This side got a base speed of
5,
40.
10, 15, 20, 25, 30,
35,
35, 40.
Yep.
There?
Yeah, that'll be good.
Okay.
We'll keep an eye on things. Take the dodge action
Very good.
for enhanced defense.
Francis.
Bad dog.
So, you guys, the two of you, Lucinda, Agate, you split off and head into from piece of shrubbery to bush to rock and everything like that, moving as quickly and as stealthily as you can to surround this group of bandits and thugs. This bandit here is still out on the road, sort of clutching his ears and sort of thrashing around on the ground, continuously calling out, "Where's that coming from? I don't understand it. Where?" Very quickly, you hear this bandit here on the right-hand side under the shrubbery. You can see him giving, since he is nearest, you can clearly see his face. He is giving the ear-clutching bandit a very queer look. And he's confused, and he shouts what looks like back at the scraggly beard. He says, "Hey, boss! Bilo's going nuts over here!" And you can see that the jiggling of the wagon shoot, 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 very slowly stops. And then you see a head peer out from the side, the same scraggly beard, red cloak. "What you on about?" And you can see that the other bandit's like, "It's Bilo! He's gone nuts! He's rolling around on the ground! Do something!" And you can see he very clearly gives a slow, solid blink. "You do something about it. I'm the boss. I'm negotiating." As he continues to shake the wagon.
Keep that hand in.
You see that that same bandit sort of does this kind of exasperated sigh and begins to move forward to intercept his struggling friend. 10. He goes over there. Let's do some checking here. He's now above the thrashing bandit. He's kind of looking down at him. He's got his crossbow sort of at a kind of a parade rest is not exactly the like a half, like a ready stance, right? And he's looking down at him. "Bilo, what the hell's your problem? You don't hear it? You don't have to shout. What's?" And you see him just do a quick look around. So he rolled. Let's see.
23.
So he's there. He looks around, trying to figure out. He looks like he's trying to source where this disturbance is coming from. Like he's given Bilo the benefit of the doubt. Like, well, maybe there is something I'm not quite hearing. He looks around and he catches sight of a ponytail sticking out of some underbrush on the right-hand side. He whips around, levels the crossbow. "Ah, crap! We got company!"
Just do the stand up and just lock eyes.
And suddenly, everyone, you see the wagon immediately stop bouncing. You see that our friend jumps off of the side, and he locks eyes. He spots you, and he says, "Get him!" And everybody trains their weapons on the love.
Look how nobody heard
I
that.
know, I'm just like...
Ding, ding, ding.
Well, it's not necessarily doesn't necessarily create a sound that everybody can hear, right?
But I'm also trying to be vocal, so...
Everybody else was so focused.
I just need, like, an actual bell in my mace.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There you go. Put that up on top.
Okay. So, number 2 here fires a bolt at you at the behest of his boss.
Has disadvantage.
Oh,
Hooray, dodge.
He rolled a natural 1.
Okay.
Plus 3 would be 4, but anyway.
Good try.
So
Good shot.
a crossbow bolt sails clean headlong over your head and into the shrubbery above you, sort of catching him there. You don't see it go the other side or drop, so it's clearly stuck up there in the
Solid hit.
in the foliage. Number 3 here, he moves to get a better vantage point. 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30. And he fires at you as well. Does he still have disadvantage if you're dodging? That's right.
Lasts until the start of my next round.
Woof.
Oh, dodge that 20.
16 to hit.
Still hits.
All right. So a crossbow bolt shoots out, strikes you. You take 7 piercing damage.
You can take like 2 more of those.
Number 5 here. Our friend who is checking on Bilo, being so close to you, he goes for a crossbow shot on you again, as you have made yourself very clearly sort of their easiest target.
Okay.
Apparently.
Within range.
6.
That'll miss.
So he, shakily, more out of adrenaline and nerves than out of any skill, fires, and you can see that it shoots through the air and strikes the trunk of a nearby tree. For the Bilo, the thrashing one,
Poor soul Bilo.
very quickly, you see him, he's still screaming a bit, and as he starts to see his compatriots out of the corner of his eye firing crossbow bolts, you see him very slowly stop, thrashing around on the ground. He removes his hands from his ears.
It's cool.
And he looks dumbstruck as he's just looking around, wondering if his facial expression is any indication. Am I crazy, or did I just hear an entire thunderstorm?
The bells they are a-calling.
And our scraggly bearded friend, you see him produce from his back, from a sort of a rigging on his back, a heavy crossbow,
Oh shit.
and he fires at you.
Oh, heavy stuff.
A natural 20. But that is a 13 to hit you.
That will miss.
So that bolt, the bolt with alarming speed and like an audible noise strikes that same tree that the original bolt struck, but splits the original bolt in twain.
Nice.
That's the world of the 20.
Yep.
All right.
It would have been a good one.
So next it is, let's see here. Next it is Galahad's turn.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Oh, I guess 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30.
So I'll move up to
Shaking the hammer.
and
Very quickly, both Bilo and his concerned friend become aware of a rushing red and black cleric wielding a warhammer coming down the path.
I'm assuming you're doing that like Naruto style run. the low to the ground, cape flapping.
Bilo very quickly snaps out of his reverie and sees this guy coming. What the fuck is that?
and then I'll cast Bless on the 2.
Okay.
Nice.
So you guys get an
a
extra
D4?
D4. Yeah.
Of hit
I could have done that. Not
Oh,
hit
to hit.
points.
To hit.
Yeah.
Right.
All right.
I think we can make that work.
Next, it's Lucindra.
Okay. So I'm gonna pop out, say, "Ha! You didn't expect me, did you?" And then burning hands.
Burning Hands, Bilo, the one who's still on the ground. This one.
Well, it gets them
technically-
both.
Okay, yeah, all right. So
Yeah,
you
so
get both of them. That doesn't make dexterity saves, is that right?
Surprise!
Okay.
For 13 is the DC.
All right.
You keep this up, and the people in the cart are going to think we're going to rob them.
7. So one got a 7 and one got a 9. So I imagine they both failed.
Yeah.
Oh.
10
That's
points,
how
of, 10 points of fire damage.
10 points of fire damage for these poor souls.
Yep.
Just that weird angle.
Yeah, of him trying to chew into the
So,
bone.
You, both of you see Lucindra pop out. Aha! And there's a column of flame shoots out of her hands, and you can see that Bilo and his concerned friend are engulfed like old war footage of World War II German flamethrowers. Shoots out, and you instantly hear cries and confusion on a Wilhelm scream proportion. As they are
I think that's a war crime.
nearly
Somebody-
burned alive. They are now, both of them, on the ground, thrashing, much like Bilo did before, but now for a very practical purpose. Trying to
Very
extinguish
visible.
themselves.
So,
Points for practicality.
after that, I draw my sword, and as a bonus action, I believe I can go into my dance.
Okay. So, having nearly burned these two men alive, you then start doing a jig
on their soon-to-be ashes.
near them in celebration of their the Holocaust. Let's be clear. Let's just call it like it is.
Going in hard, I see.
Well, in the generic term, not the capital
Okay.
H.
Okay. That's
Okay. So then,
Maybe a burden.
Agate, it's actually your turn.
all right.
Now you can see that after this has happened, the other bandits, including the scraggly beard, look at them and they're like shocked and disgusted by it. They're like, "Oh, gee, for God's sake!"
What are you doing to me?
Oh, by the way, my raven's been circling overhead.
Okay,
Keeping an eye.
very good.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah, we're gonna go with it. So, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Kind of rush in and approach, making a bit of a jump, and then kind of like axe kicking
The scraggly bearded one,
straggler build.
the leader. We'll call him the leader from now on.
Yep. Take a swing with a club. No, we'll go full unarmed for this one. We'll keep it with the kick.
You also get an extra D4.
All right, that might save this. Very, very light on the mic, though. Does a 13 hit?
A 13, you say?
Yes.
It does.
Hey. Add 2. 4 bludgeoning damage.
4 bludgeoning damage. Okay. So, swift axe kick. It comes down on this sort of neck and shoulder area. And oh, fuck! And you can see that he recoils a little bit. He maintains his grip on his weapon and his uprightedness, right? But he is clearly pissed, and he is now sort of angrily barking orders at the rest of his bandits. Go on, get him! Take care of him! You see him hit me!
Then going to assume more of a defensive, fluid motion with patient defense. Burn a point of key, and back up to dodge.
Okay.
As a bonus.
And our friends are back. All right. So, the...
I'm glad they're friends.
So the leader, yeah, they're personal friends of mine. That's right. So the leader, clearly upset, probably took a bit of a naughty bruise there where you've axe kicked him.
It's gonna get like a sprained shoulder.
Oh, yeah.
You see that he chucks his crossbow lightly into the sort of driver pitch of the carriage. The wagon, I should say. And you see him pull out a mace. And he smacks it a little bit, like, on the handle,
Meat
obviously.
tenderizer, yeah.
Smacks it a little bit like a meat tenderizer, and he's like, "You fucked up now." Yeah. And he rushes forward to smack you across the face with this mace. All right. He swings once.
Still got disadvantage on
Natural,
these.
okay.
Thanks to dodge.
It's a 1 and a 2.
Hey.
So he definitely missed that one. So he, with a heavy swing and almost overextending a little
Just
bit,
Bruce
Hitting
Lee
the ground.
glide out of the way.
and he tries again. Natural 1 and a 2.
Hey!
And again, another smooth, be-like water glide.
It was the hit to the shoulder. He's like really
Yeah.
strained right now.
You can hear him sort of like growling and grumbling as he misses once, twice. You see very quickly the remaining
Building up my meter.
bandits near you. They fire
and load again.
their crossbows. It's one shot. Is a 4.
Cool. That was.
Sorry, no, that was a 7, but it didn't hit you. And another shot. Jesus Christ,
Dodging
you are
those
dodging
20s.
so many.
Oh, good call. Good call.
Another 7 to hit you.
That will also miss.
Out of the shock of seeing somebody essentially not only strike but also embarrass their boss, they are. You can see the sort of
Are they like
the terror both of you and of their boss roiling up in their mind as they sort of fire
I can
wildly.
see him boiling over.
Yeah. These fellows, who are currently on fire,
As you do.
they, let's see here,
Scream in pain.
they scream in pain.
That's a free action.
Continual.
All right.
Do that quick stop, drop, and roll.
So they attempt to, both of them, they continue thrashing about on the ground, trying to put themselves out. So, 18 and a 9. Okay, so you see very quickly Byro, the unfortunate bandit who hallucinated and then was set on fire. He very quickly you hear some tight, angry sort of vocalizations from him, and then you hear nothing as you hear some crackling and his body moves no more. You do see, however, his friend leap off to the side 5-10 feet and actually manage to pat most of himself out on the nearby sort of like dirt and brush and so on. He's able to manage to extinguish himself, but he is badly burnt. Okay, Galahad, you're up next.
I'm still alive, just very badly.
5, 10, 15, 8, and I'm doing the like non-lethal, just like bashing him with like the center part of my face of my
Your
warhammer.
face?
Yes, I just headbutt it.
Okay, so you're going to non-lethally like bash him.
Bash him. Yeah.
All right, very good. So roll to hit, obviously.
Stay
Now
down.
he is prone, so you have advantage, right?
Prone.
Nice.
Okay.
Yep. He's been rolling in the dirt.
Okay.
Nice.
There we go.
There's a 19.
There's a 23.
23. That does not hit, I'm afraid. No, it definitely does hit.
Lucky
yeah.
boy.
No, he's well armored.
He's basically he has the defense of a Slim Jim at this point.
So 9 points of damage.
Okay, so you very easily stand over this gentleman, and you see the
Take
sort
a
of
nap.
the blackened, smoking form. He actually slightly raises a hand and a face to, like, in a gesture of futile sort of reflex, smack, and he just collapses.
That's 15, 20, 25.
Very badly
I should just leave him here so you know what you've done. Okay, then
We will leave the bodies there so you know what you've done.
we'll string him up. We'll put him on pikes as a warning. Lucindra.
We've got these wonderful trees.
Okay, nah. 'Cause I think I could cast Shield Faith on you if you need it. But
30. Okay. So I get behind the boss.
Okay,
Light him on fire.
and you.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Sometimes you got to take one for the team.
If I'm right.
That's taking several for the team.
No, I think that would still hit. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it would still hit, but
Yeah.
I would be
Well,
okay with
if
it.
If it's 15-foot cone, I
True.
think it would be 1, and you can choose 1, 2,
Two
or 1, 2,
and then 3. Yeah,
and then 3.
that is true. I remember the old 5e conical.
Because they had that in Xanathar's of Guides to Cones.
Yep.
Seems reasonable.
Okay. Yeah.
Xanathos
So you get in
guide
front,
to
and then you try to burning hands these three, the boss and his 2 henchmen.
And I shout, "Don't worry, I'm non-lethally setting him on fire."
Who are you shouting that to?
My
Just the general group?
Just herself. She
Yes.
needs the reassurance.
So again, another plume and column of flame shoots out. So our friends need to make dexterity saves. So the leader,
Yeah. 15-foot cone should cover 6 squares on a grid.
the leader rolled a 5, and our other friends, the bandits,
El Bandito.
16 and 21. Actual 20 plus 1.
Okay, so
Half damage.
those 2 saved.
So they managed to sort of like, they see what's coming, they hear the plume, they saw what happened to their friend Byro, and they take cover immediately.
12 points of fire damage.
So 12 points of fire damage to just our leader, is that right?
The other
It's
team
half.
Take half. Yeah.
Okay.
So it's just like their backs being like singed.
Yep. Clear.
Okay. And they take half, which is so 6. Alright.
Because at least spell slots are mostly.
So
same
they
level.
try to essentially sort of turn and cover themselves, throwing their leather up, their cloaks up, whatever they can do to sort of stop this. You see the leader as you shout, "Don't worry, non-lethal flame," and he turns around and says, "What's the fucking?" And you see that he is illuminated in probably the worst way possible.
He's not Scruffy Beard anymore.
That beard's going to be gone in a few moments. Yeah.
It's hair burns fast.
He, of course, screaming and freaking out as he is engulfed in flame. Next, we have Agate.
Especially if they use like Brillo cream. Alright, we're gonna pop up and show off the best we can by doing what I'm gonna say is a like whirlwind kick.
Sure, a Tatsu.
Yeah, to hit all three of them using flurry of blows.
All right.
So, match colors. We'll start with leader.
So he's currently very on fire, so watch your feet.
Yep. Short contact.
That's why you use like wool. Wool weapons? Cotton?
Probably gonna whiff.
God.
Plus 4.
So,
12.
12 hits.
Hey. I'll take.
These poor guys.
For
6
damage. Yeah.
All right. And for our bandit friends?
Yep. Number 2. There we go. That's it.
Trying to steal his bone.
25.
Definitely.
Yep.
Yeah, there's this weird spot
That's
between
the
like
last.
21 to 23 where it doesn't hit, but 25.
Yeah, it's a weird window, but you managed to get it.
6 bludgeoning.
6 bludgeoning damage. All right.
And I think that one will do as well. 15 to hit.
That hits, yes.
And hey,
Max
6
again.
bludgeoning damage.
All
That
right.
is the most damage I can do.
Would you say this is lethal or non-lethal?
Non-lethal.
Okay. So, you... Or whatever Ken says as he does a top tatsu, as you whirl in the air and smack from left to right our leader friend, who takes a heavy blow to the face, which is, I mean, not ideal because he's already on fire.
Yeah, it's kind of rough.
And you
admittedly.
clean smack the bandits hiding in the underbrush nearby, unconscious.
Damn.
Oh, that's
Double kill.
keep them there. And they clatter on top of each other as you hear, like, crossbow, twang and arrows snap as they
Like
fall
light
into
on
the
fire.
underbrush.
Well, the wood takes a little while to start, but yeah, it'll happen.
A little bit string.
All right.
That's a good point.
Then it is our
But if
friend's
it's like
turn.
cotton, if it's cotton, then it takes a little while. 'cause it
I'm trying to think if
singes.
those are usually like greased or not. That's that's like
Waxed.
yeah, maybe wax.
Our,
Wax might make more sense.
Keep them like
Our leader,
Mhm.
wild-eyed, burning, enraged, he rights himself from your sort of powerful kick to the face, and he rushes forward and tries to tackle you.
Oh, let's go! Let's go!
So he is going to roll athletics.
I will counter with athletics. Bless his attack rolls or saving throws. Okay. I get a +3 to whatever this is. 13.
yeah, because it's not
Amazing.
it's not
Yeah.
like guidance. It does whatever guidance does.
Doesn't do.
So
Lasts longer.
you very handily sort of... How do you sort of deflect him?
So he's like charging with hands out.
Yes, like trying to catch you so that he can share his fiery embrace with you.
I do just the classic like hand from down to up to kind of bat the arms to the side and then sidestep and just let him use his motion to move
Yeah,
past.
he
Use his momentum.
follows his
against-
momentum and falls to the ground, tripping and finding himself still burning, by the way.
As you do.
He is going to make a dexterity save, realizing that he has not made purchase with you. All right, and so he is going to. Let's say, yeah, well, that's fair. Okay. All right.
Ooh. Ooh.
As he continues to burn and smoke on the forest, I mean the plains. Okay,
Uh-oh. If I summon thunder,
these
that
gentlemen
make it
unconscious.
Thunder planes?
This one unconscious. This one again. You can
There.
still hear him thrashing behind the wagon.
Oh.
Now
okay.
I point out that
I thought
the
he quit moving.
that's right he did. He did quit moving. You're absolutely right.
He's our unfortunate pile of ash.
You still hear from inside the wagon, like, you don't hear any of the asking for mercy anymore. It's gone dead quiet inside there. So,
This is your Craig, by the way.
with the bodies of these bandits sort of lying
And
about,
that's Greg.
Yeah.
either unconscious or dead, and the leader, with his scraggly beard and incredibly red cloak, still thrashing about, you have pretty much handled the situation. So, you have currently a flaming survivor. What will you do with him?
Well, I take off his
Put him out.
his red coat. I relieve him
cloak.
of his.
The cloak.
Which is on fire.
Yeah, no, like just shaking it out. Just,
Okay, adding more oxygen to it. Okay, it continues to be on fire.
well, he doesn't
Sunburst.
deserve it anyways.
Backburst. I'm going to make sure 2 and 3 are properly put out. Just to make sure they don't burn anymore.
Okay, yeah.
Extinguish.
Yeah.
So
Rolling
they
them
are,
over.
again, very badly burned, but they are unconscious. Okay. So, what's left is our leader friend here. He is now, like, the flames have been mostly extinguished now that you've sort of removed some of the sources, the things that had caught fire, the cloth and so on. And you can see him just very quietly sort of turning and writhing and...
I'll like help him like sit up and get like behind his hands and like tie some ropes behind the hands.
He's been coughing up blood as you have to sort of wrench his arms back and tie. You can see that as you are tying the rope, a little bit of his skin comes off on you. Unfortunately. But otherwise, he is now bound, at least at the wrists, and he is immobile.
So, brigands, have you seen any kobold, flying kobold, flaming, breathing creatures on your travels on this wonderful highway that you seem to have crossed everyone you come across?
The leader...
Would you like to try that again, Galahad?
The leader, whose beard looks like one of those iron filing puzzles, but if all of the iron filings had fallen to a single corner. He is unable to lock eyes with you, or really to focus on anything at all. He responds...
Alright, I'll do hands on both shoulders, and we'll do cure wounds.
Okay. Very good.
That's a druid magic initiate.
Oh.
For... what's that? 7 hit points back?
7 hit points back. All right.
That's not a bad one for him.
So our leader, there is a sort of a flash of whitish yellow lights, something sort of warm and dawn-like. And you see, after the flash, you see the thug still looking pretty dark. You can see some, it's what look like first-degree burns and everything like that. But otherwise, he is in decent health. He very quickly understands now that, like, he's been dragged from death's door and put up on a chair. Still near death's door, but not
Tell me if you hear the bells.
not opening.
Doing better now?
I suppose.
You'll have to excuse Lucindra. She's
It was non-lethal fire. None of them died, did they?
I don't know. I don't know about the one.
pointing over to the one where it's like just a corpse still on fire.
I didn't say that was
You're like
non-lethal
actively
Yeah,
flaming.
still burning.
You see him
That
look.
was the warning shot she would say.
You see him look over to his left at this flaming corpse. Oh no, Byro.
You're the one who got him in this mess.
He sort of looks you with like as much evil in his eye as he can possibly muster. He manages to sort of hold up a sort of singed finger.
I think
and
I'm
he
like
says,
still behind him. Like,
he manages to hold up a singed finger at no one in particular, just as a point, and he says, "You wish one day for retirement. One day."
let me guess, it's also his first day. This was his big job.
How can he retire after one day?
Who knows what's in the wagon? Enough to make you maybe retire?
Are you daft as well as a psychopath?
Look, let's move on to another topic for now.
Okay. Yes.
You've been out here for a while, I assume, yes?
Yes, we have.
Do you put any credence to the rumors of kobolds in the area?
I don't know what the fuck you're talking about.
All right. Well, that helps.
Just here to make a little coin, do things for my boys. Boy, how many of them are still alive?
I spared 3.
How magnanimous of you.
Oh, you spared 3? Like you did it all alone?
All right, I spared 2. You burned 3, if not 4, at this point.
I burned everybody.
Technically.
Well, as long as you've admitted it.
Fine. Just take me to the jail and the hospital. No, in the other order. Take me to the hospital, a doctor, a healer of some kind, and then the jail as quickly as possible.
I think your fastest way there is probably going to be on that cart.
You very, very quickly see a woman in her 30s, a human woman, sort of stick her head out of the window frame of the interior of the wagon, and she just pops her head out and very quickly says, "He's not going on my wagon."
You don't have room for more cargo?
You're safe. You can go on.
Well, we have plenty of room for fine, upstanding adventurers, but I think our little angry sausage there is not going to make it.
10 gold to take him with?
She gives you a critical eye. Fine, but we're all agreed that he doesn't deserve it.
Yes, I totally agree.
If that's what you believe?
Very quickly you see another face, that of a half-elf, a younger half-elf, around the age of sort of young adolescence, 12, 13, pops his head just above the human woman's head in a kind of like sort of Scooby-Doo fashion. Pops his head on top of her head out of the window, and you see him. That was fucking awesome! What the fuck? Wow, you guys really took care of him.
Yes.
We are accepting apprentices at our...
Very quickly, the woman forces his head back inside. Hero, stop. We've talked about this. The kind of hero worship is going to get you nowhere. Please excuse my son.
Of course.
It pays well.
Hero worship? I thought it was the other way around. They're the ones doing the paying.
10 gold pieces? No. One good turn serves another. 5. And we'll transport all of you to Canaria. How about that? In fact,
It's basically
because
a
I
gold
am
per head.
so grateful, when we arrive there, food, lodging, whatever you need, I'll take care of it.
Oh, much generous of you. Thank you.
It's the least I can do.
I will happily provide the 5 gold and start
Loading up.
loading and binding the singed but no longer burning individuals. And
But still burn.
So, this one,
yeah.
this one, and this one.
Yeah.
All go with you inside the car. Stacked up like cordwood.
Don't know what to do with our unfortunate friend.
And if you got a shovel,
Don't have a shovel.
shield makes a bad shovel.
And we're only 3 days in. I'm not sure any of us really want to spend 4 days with a corpse.
The boy's head, Hero's head, again pops out of the wagon. The birds will get him. You don't need to. Pushes him. Sokka pushes him back.
At
inside.
that time, my raven lands on my shoulder. I kind of whisper a few things to it. Her friends will take care of it.
No, that's what I'm trying to avoid.
That will
It's the circle of life.
attract a lot more than just crows,
Oh, quite.
wolves, and other things that'll cost travelers.
I'm afraid I don't have any kind of digging implement or anything. A shovel of any kind. What would you suggest we do?
Well, if you're that concerned about the road, throw him off the road.
I'm trying to see it.
What, into a ditch?
Yes.
Is like
That seems cruel even for that thing.
Well, if there's enough stones nearby, we can make a
standard little...
Like a
What's the proper term for it? Pyre is when you light it on fire.
Cairn?
Cairn. There we go.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
A cairn. It's a mound of stones built as a memorial or landmark. So it's close, but
Close.
you're
Yeah.
covering the entire
Similar.
body with
Yeah.
it as well.
Doing,
Yeah.
Google that real quick. Stone grid.
She very quickly gets out. This young woman, Hero's mother, gets out of the wagon, closes it up, very sternly. No, Hero, you stay here. Do you understand? Fine.
Wait. I have mold earth.
She gets out and she goes to a nearby sort of like small ditch to sort of gather stones.
Mm-hmm.
And she hears what?
Sorry, the fight made me forget. One moment, please. Kind of clap the hands together, and you just kind of watch as the earth itself kind of bubbles, starts to look like quicksand, and pulls itself out, creating a nice 5 by 5 foot hole, nice 5 feet deep, and we will push this guy into it before moving it back over.
A very light thump, almost like throwing a breadstick down a hallway.
A garden. Oh crap! What's the restaurant?
Olive Garden.
Olive
Garden breadstick.
Yeah, very much so. And you maneuver the earth, close that back up. Very quickly, Hero's mother just sort of drops the stones at her feet. Well, that's certainly easier and less time consuming.
I'll take a couple of the stones just to kind of mark it, but other than that,
Yeah, is that going to hold under wagon wheels and that sort of thing? Horse hooves?
I make sure to do this off the main road. Yeah.
Okay. She sees that. Well, good riddance.
Is your wagon all right?
Well, unfortunately, one of the wheels is destroyed. I'm going to have to take. I do have a spare. I just haven't had an opportunity to replace it. But with this,
A costing of brigands?
yes, the costing is an excellent word for it. If you'll give me but 20 minutes, I should be able to replace this wheel, and we should be on our way to Canaria.
Well, we can help with that if you need any assistance.
Oh, only if you insist. I don't want to put any more burden on you than I already
I'm
have.
always happy to help.
Lucindra, you wouldn't happen to be one of those mending mages, would you?
No.
Points at a nearby flaming corpse. What do you think? That look like mending to you?
You don't know. Fire can cauterize.
Sure. But if you over-cauterize something, you're in fact a burn. So,
Cauterize an arm off.
So with the lot of you's help, the wagon wheel is quickly replaced. The excess, the wood of the old wagon wheel is discarded to sort of slowly rot and return to the earth. It is latched on, hammered on, tightened, and everything is good to go. And with a little bit of testing, as you move the horses just slightly, you find that the wagon is just as smooth sailing as you would expect.
Very
and
lucky.
both Hero's mother, she stands up, having finished the wheel, extends her hand to the lot of you. I'm sorry, my apologies. I'm Sokka.
I'm Lucindra.
Pleasure to meet you.
Thank you again for your help. Now, please, if you'll take your seats inside the wagon, my son and I will attend to the driving. Of course. We should be there within a matter of hours.
What?
So you hear Sokka, and she very quietly, under her breath, issues a few sort of critical parental comments at Hero as he goes around the other side and is standing up inside the driver's hitch. Just, if you do this again, I swear to God, I can't believe that you even. Those people were on fire. They were suffering.
Can I get a sleight of hand?
To do what?
Pass a business card?
Oh.
Yeah, I mean, why not? Yeah. You will have disadvantage because he's very close to his mother right now.
Mm-hmm.
Physically. Proximity.
Or I guess
Not
I might also just leave it in the thing, but that's an 8, so it's probably like a very obvious of me like
So Hero, thinking that he is a master of spycraft, very quickly he puts his hand up along his cheek, trying to obscure Sokka's sight. Oh yeah, let me... Unblinkingly, Sokka looks at Hero, watches him take the card from a hand that's popped out of a familiar hand that's popped out of the wagon. You throw that away, Mom. You throw that away right now. And the wagon rumbles along and heads down the trade route path.
Get seated, take some time to meditate, try to sneak in a short rest, get my key back.
Yeah, you can get a short rest out. Yeah, absolutely.
Cover that key.
It's about 3 hours of travel, but eventually... Well, let's see. You were in the afternoon, so it's actually early evening.
Okay.
It's sort of the other half of the day, really, before you arrive in Canaria. Luckily, the path is smooth. You don't encounter any additional bandits or any of these flying kobolds that you heard so much about. You do, however, arrive in Canaria across some sort of a cobblestone path that leads into a compact village surrounded by a wall made of fortified logs. Now you can see that you are approaching what looks like a gate. It looks like, in the distance, given the sort of size of Canaria, you can see there's an eastern and western gate. Judging from where you were coming from, looks like the eastern gate that you're approaching. They're closed at the moment, but the wagon comes up. Sokka very quickly sort of pulls the reins and stops the cart and calls out in a series of sort of strangely pitched whistles. One tone and then another and then another. And very, very quickly after that, there is another series of tones. 1, 2, 3. She responds, and then the gate very slowly opens into a lightly lit, at least sort of a twilight kind of lit. There's the occasional sort of lamppost, or like torch in a metal cage, sort of burning to provide a little bit of light of this small village.
Torch post.
And she again hits the reins. The wagon trails on in, and she sort of leans over the driver's side and calls back into the wagon. Listen, if you want to get to your rest right away, then you're going to want to head to the Sapphire Spoon. It's the tavern and inn here in Canaria. Again, don't worry, I will take care of food and lodging for you. But you may also want to check in with... Oh, excuse me.
The constable, at least.
You may want to check in with the local guard. And you may also want to see my brother as well. I have a brother who lives here in the village. He runs a metalworks. I'm sure that if he heard how much you helped me and my son, I'm sure he'd be more than happy to compensate you in some way.
Do you need another hammer?
He makes all manner of things, weapons, armor. His wife makes jewelry as well. It is quite an interesting place. They've got a lot of different goods. They're just as talented as the other. It's actually remarkable that two great craftsmen were able to sort of,
a perfect pair.
One to be perfectly suited to each other, and also to stand each other's presence, given the competition that you see in craftspeople. Anyway, we're coming up on the Sapphire Spoon now, so I'll just hitch the wagon. I'll come in with you and make sure that you're settled, and then I'll make my way back to my home. Eh?
Very well.
Hero, stay here.
Start
Maybe we should
unloading the
also-
bandits as well.
Yes.
Yeah.
Drop off these
All
packages.
right, out you go.
Perhaps,
Before the end.
yes, perhaps we shouldn't bring it in. That will cause a bit of a stir. let's head to the chief guardsman, and she heads in a direction of a sort of a what looks like a cross between a thatch hut and a guard's house, essentially. Heading towards that area, she sort of knocks lightly on the sort of the wooden makeshift, the kind of flimsy wooden door, and very quickly you see a gentleman approach. He opens the door. He has a kind of a groggy, kind of vaguely irritated look. See your brother. He has long brown hair and what looks like a pretty thick mustache. It's long and a kind of like a Civil War sort of style that drapes over his chin. And he, what is it now?
Dropping off.
What? Sokka, what are you doing here? Who are these people? I'm sorry. I hate to bother you at this hour, Hamath, but these adventurers they helped me in a bit of a dangerous situation. The hero and I found ourselves in on the way here.
Quite hot situation.
And they have prisoners for you?
Criminals, yes.
Yes.
Very quickly, you see sort of Hamath kind of lean out and study the forms that you've brought. Are they still alive?
Yes.
They'll recover.
No, they won't.
Well, not completely. Not without healing.
Not the mind won't.
God's alive. All right, bring them in. I'll take care of them. Just set them over there into the cell.
Do like the fireman's carry.
Weekends in Bernie, one of them.
And so Hamath just sort of stands off to the side. You can see that he's not even sort of in his guard's garb. He's kind of in like what looks like a long john and and some sort of thermal wear. And he's sort of watching off to the side as a lot of you stack these forms up unconscious in sort of the corner of the guard's hut. Thanks, I guess. In all seriousness, thank you for helping Sokka. We greatly appreciate both her time, her trade, her company.
Our pleasure.
Of course.
Now, if you could, get the hell out of here. I'm trying to sleep.
We can come back in the morning to talk.
You take care, Sokka. Very quickly, hut door slams. Well, that went better than I was expecting.
He seems nice.
He isn't. But he's a good man.
I see.
Well then, food and a bed. How about that? Right. Follow me, please. And she makes her way back to the Sapphire Spoon, which you can see in this relatively small village. It is a 3-story tall building.
Dang.
Largest building it looks like in the village. With a kind of a German sort of Black Forest kind of architectural vibe with sort of these nice pointed areas and these sort of Baroque windows and things. She heads inside, and there is some activity in here. Not nearly anything that you've seen in, say, Prelude's taverns or any of the other sort of bigger settlements of the kingdom. There are a handful of people there. They're drinking cider or ale. Either they've gotten off of some late shift, or they're drinking their troubles away, or their boredom, perhaps. So she makes her way, Sokka, leads you very quickly to the counter, and you can see that there is a elderly halfling behind the counter, and she very quickly spies Sokka through some weathered eyes and says, "Hello, dearie. Who are your friends there?"
Big smile.
Carling, these are Well, this is Lucindra, Galahad, and Agate.
Agate.
Agate, yes, Agate. I'm sorry. They helped me out with some trouble on the trade route earlier today. They will be given on my tab a fine meal and a finer room, if you please. And she very quickly sort of smiles and grins and nods. Very good. Very good. Well, anyone who helps my dear Saka is welcome here at any time. Now, what are you looking for in terms of your supper? We have a number of interesting items for sale, and I'm sure that you'll find each one of them delectable.
The chef's specialty.
Which one? He does a sort of a light wink.
Is he squinting? It's like Cayman.
Have you? I haven't seen the three of you here in Canaria. Certainly not at our old spoon here. Our menu, you see, we have a wizard of a cook. Well, not literally a wizard. Wouldn't that be something? We have a wizard of a cook, and he changes our menu regularly, seasonally, in fact. Would you like to hear the specials for this fall?
Of course.
Why not?
Well, we have here the mountain grass garden salad. We have hot pepper stew. And our well-known favorite around these parts, buttered dire goat steak.
Nice. Hot pepper soup?
Hot pepper stew it is. Very good. And you, sir?
I almost want each of us to try everything, so... Do I want the salad then?
My boy, you certainly look like a healthy individual. I don't think you necessarily need to watch your figure.
I'll take the steak.
The steak, very good. I think you'll enjoy it very much. And for the lady?
I'll take the salad.
Very good. I will have that out as soon as possible. Now, you three, you make yourselves comfortable and enjoy the ambiance of the spoon. I'll have that out in a jiffy. And she sort of hops off what is clearly a stool that she's been standing on and sort of waddles back into the kitchen. Now, that's Mother Carlene. She runs the Sapphire Spoon here. Both the tavern and the inside. She's a wise woman with wickedly good at math. Strangely enough, but she is
helps in the business.
Oh yes. She's kept this place up
straight
and running even during these harder times when the trade has slowed down. She's been here longer than I've been alive, I think. But yet she's lovely. So if you need anything, you just ask her. I'm sure she'd be happy to help. Well, I don't want to leave Hero out in the wagon for too long by himself. He gets antsy, you understand. Again, she sort of reaches out her hand and clasps each of you. Thank you again for your help. If there's anything I can do, or my brother Sid, if you'll check out with him, you'll see the building, the Red Wings Metalworks. You'll find it's the only area in the building with a constant black smoke sort of trailing out of the top of it. If you'll head by there, I'm sure that he'd be glad to extend his gratitude as well. Well,
one final question before you go.
Yes.
You mentioned the difficult times for travel and trade.
That's right.
Do you put any stock in these rumors of kobolds?
I have heard some tales. And she gestures for the lot of you to sort of sit at a nearby table. She rests,
Have her
herself.
take a seat. Yeah.
This business with the trade route and these kobolds, at least that's what the people say, started about 4 weeks ago. It was on this side, the side that we traveled down. The caravans, at least, not the individual wagons so much, but the caravans themselves, the more populated, the longer traveling merchants. They were attacked by things that they described as kobolds, but again, who's ever heard of a kobold that could fly or breathe fire like a dragon? It sounds ridiculous. Now, that having been said, I don't know if I necessarily believe so much that kobolds are responsible, but I did hear about a month ago, a little more than a month ago, must have been 5-6 weeks now, some of the people here in Canaria claim to have seen a gold dragon?
How big?
Oh, well, about as big as a house, I suppose. Flying about to the east of this village, down the other side of the trade route there. Now, they certainly wove a convincing tale, but that is also the spot of some other sort of fanciful stories. That's largely where the ruins of Cerulean, where you'll find those.
It's a
And
good bard's tale.
I've certainly seen several people come back from some expedition there, or even some dare that they had been charged with some strange stories, and they've all been equally implausible. So I'm afraid I honestly don't know what to expect.
Can I roll a history check to see what I know about these ruins?
Yeah, please do.
Oh, that's pretty good. So that's a 22.
Nice.
Okay, so you know a little bit about Cerulean. It was an ancient city-state. The exact location has been mostly lost as to where this, the heart of this city-state was. But you know that they were somewhere in the mountains east of here, in this general sort of region of the kingdom. They were famous for founding a style of magic that allowed its practitioners to mimic monsters' magical abilities.
Well,
And the historical records, in addition to sort of expeditions and surveys that have managed to come back from the area, are not able to exactly pinpoint where the ruins of the great city of Cerulean itself are, but several of its outposts have been discovered and marked on maps and been written about in sort of archaeological surveys and things, including one a few miles east of this village. You're aware that lines up with the sort of the known
Trade route.
the known archaeological record, right? What Sokka is saying rings true.
Well, that certainly lines up with the archaeological record of where the city is. And it is known that these ancient Ceruleans were famous for mimicking the magical abilities of monsters.
Curious.
So if it could mimic
Yes, I've heard
the
tales
abilities
such
of
as
a
that.
dragon, then the kobolds could breathe fire.
I'm sorry to say I'm not as learned in these matters as you are, but
Yeah.
I've heard similar tales.
What about that description?
Well, it's certainly not in mine.
Yes, I was first in my class at the Mage Academy.
Oh, that sounds like quite an achievement. Well,
Be that snarky guy of, you should burn the rest of them.
there was no one left to graduate. Well,
Class of one. Self-taught.
can I help you with anything further?
Homeschooled.
I think that's more than enough.
Well, again, thank you, and I'll take my leave. Please enjoy yourselves and have a good time here, given the dark circumstances in which we arrived.
You better make sure our hero hasn't run off.
Yeah, keep an eye on that kid.
Well, I don't mean to be rude, but I don't think that will be of any thanks to you.
He's always welcome.
Definitely not
If he
Galahad.
needs to
No,
burn
he
off
is
some
not.
energy.
He is absolutely not welcome. And if you continue on insisting, I will insist that you stay away from my son.
As you
Thank you, and good night. And very quickly she leaves, pulls a chair back, and exits the sapphire spire.
You really don't know how to talk to the ladies, do you?
No, I don't.
Correct.
8 charisma. It's not the girl I was trying to talk to.
Just at this point, like, sitting back and waiting for that stew to arrive.
Very soon after, your mother Carlene herself comes back with, in a kind of a serving style, 3 plates or bowls sort of on one arm with a considerable amount of strength given her age. Passes out to each of you your foods. First, the hot pepper stew, a hearty red-looking stew, chicken, savory peppers, and hot peppers, and it comes with a complimentary black pepper bun.
Nice.
Galahad, you receive a cube of butter slowly melting on a flank steak of dire goat on a bed of root vegetable mash. And Lucindra, chopped vegetables and leafy greens, enhanced with the sweet and sour flavors of mountain grass.
I look mildly jealous at both the other 2 dishes. Like, wish I could have gotten some of everything.
Have to ask for a platter next time.
Every place we go, it's like this with you, Galahad.
It's not my fault. I have a magical bag of holding for a stomach.
As opposed to a mundane bag of holding, which is just a bag. So, do you tuck in?
After that, I know I will. I'll spend at least.
Oh no, I
an
meant
hour.
into the meal.
Oh yeah.
You eat? Okay, very good.
Yeah, we just.
Well, I have
Instagram post
good
it.
news, adventurers. Agate, you for 24 hours have resistance to fire damage.
Dope.
Galahad, you, since you have enjoyed this dire goat steak, whenever a minute passes and you haven't gained temporary hit points or taken damage, you gain 1 temporary hit point.
Or haven't taken damage.
Whenever a minute passes and you haven't gained temporary hit points or taken damage, you gain 1 temporary hit point. These stack with one another up to a maximum of 4 plus your constitution mod.
Okay.
Not bad. Yeah.
And that ends after 24 hours. Lucindra, you have advantage on dexterity checks you make to determine initiative for 24 hours.
On edge.
Or, for a lot of you, if you consume another meal that grants a benefit. So if you wake up in the morning
And go.
and have dire goat steak, the effects of the hot pepper stew go away.
Okay.
Sounds good. We'll take resist fire, just in case.
It's basically 6 temporary hit points. Not bad.
Yeah. Not a bad setup.
I like advantage on initiative.
Sounds good.
Okay, so you enjoy the hearty meal. It tastes delicious. It is filling. It is clearly cooked with the love and wisdom of someone who has lived a long time.
That's what makes it very satisfying.
And, well, not yours. Yours is terrible. And you wish that you'd eaten the other. No.
The goat is stringy.
Yeah. The goat is still alive. The flank steak wiggling and...
This is a little bit more blue. Can I...
Quick, use a phoenix
Can
down
you-
on it.
And so after that,
Clearly undead.
So after that, what happens?
I mean, if we're
Unless-
looking late evening,
There are
probably-
it's late in the evening. It's probably about 9 o'clock or so. There are, a handful of what looks like Canarians here in the village. They're drinking or playing cards. They're talking. Sort of. It's a relaxed kind of lounge vibe in here rather than the raucousness of your typical tavern. And so if you can either, head straight to rest and, resolve yourselves tomorrow morning, or you can speak to any of the villagers here if you want to try to gain more information about these flying kobolds that you heard so much about.
Well,
I'll probably play some cards with people.
I'm not the charismatic one, so I'll tuck in.
Nobody's charismatic here.
Yeah. We all dumped it.
Big surprise.
Not a full dump.
Jesus, don't forget to
I did the intelligence dump. But that 10's got to go somewhere.
I mean, I'll just like play cards and just not immediately go to bed. But
So you have a 10 in charisma. That really makes us nice because 8, 9, 10.
Hey,
Oh.
perfect scale.
Okay, so in that case, Galahad, you sit down with a group of bearded individuals. Looks like they're
Okay, I just.
looks like miners or like leather workers. Somebody who does a rough trade. You can see that from the skin of their hands and so on. You sit down, play cards with them. They're welcoming. They are interested in a new face showing up and maybe new money falling out of that new face's
Face.
wallet. So here's your choice. You can either make an intelligence check to try to play the game expertly, or you can make a charisma check to try to bluff them expertly.
Oh, well. I guess it's an easy choice.
any skills apply, or just intelligence versus charisma?
If you can make a case for any of the intelligence or charisma skills, then I will hear it, but I don't. Nothing springs to mind.
Well, you can make a case for insight.
Insight.
Insight I can buy.
Yeah. Read your opponents.
That'd be one.
But that's not charisma, is it?
No, that's wisdom.
Okay, so you can either so it's an intelligence check, a charisma check, or an insight check. How about that?
There
Okay.
you go.
Those are your choices.
I'll try to call their bluffs. I chose the birdcage. There we go. An 18.
Your
Damn.
other choices were really crappy.
I don't mind the band one usually on certain characters. On the defect, that's kind of like a dead dead relic, but because it's not all too often you play 6 cards in a turn.
With this character, it is though.
Okay, Galahad, what'd you get?
18.
18. Very good. All right, so you managed to win 5 gold pieces out of these suckers.
Damn.
They luckily,
I'll buy some food for them.
yeah, they're in good spirits and they receive your benefit. They don't hold any grudges. They're clearly, the majority of them, it seems at least, are happy drunks, and they find that they're just glad to have a new face and some new challenge rather than playing with the same old duffs over and over again. Okay, so the rest of you, so you all head to bed now?
Yeah, do some meditation, bit of exercises beforehand, stay sharp.
Very good.
Some stretching.
So,
Oh, that's in the morning.
so a long rest it is.
Yeah.
All right. So
We are attacking.
the following morning, you hear the traditional crow of a rooster. At 5 or say in the morning. As the sun is rising, you hear some commotion downstairs. It sounds like people are getting the tavern and the inn ready to receive customers and travelers and so on. It sounds like the village of Canaria is sort of coming back to life again. Right.
Well, shall we visit the brother or the guards? The guardsman?
I'm not
Probably
too
brother first.
I'm not too sure the guardsmen want to see us.
Well, he might have more information about
More so to ask questions, yes.
if people have been bothered by
If
these
anybody's
things.
seen the dragons, I would imagine it's the ones who are supposed to be, in theory, watching. But you never know, especially if they haven't seen something and people have.
Yeah,
That
I'd
leans
imagine
towards-
there'd be more people on the road who have seen it than the guards here.
They've
Perhaps.
heard the second-hand reports more, maybe.
That being said, if that's the case, they can point us in the right direction.
Should we
Hopefully.
split up?
I don't see why not. I have no true need to go see Sid. Not one of, not one to
Material
use
need?
metal. No.
We might need something like nets or something.
Well, I don't think a metalsmith makes nets.
Who knows what he's making in that place?
A metal net might be nice.
I don't think that's a thing. I think that's a grate.
It's an inflexible metal net.
I guess really, then at that point, it's just a chain,
I
but
suppose so.
like a patterned chain.
So, what's the agenda for today?
Like a chain mail, you could say.
I suppose so.
So who wants to go where?
I'll head to the guards, ask around town, see if I can track down any more information on this potential gold dragon sighting.
I guess I'll see if there's anything that Sid might be useful against such flying creature.
The metal net would actually be useful against such a thing.
Yes.
If they made them. If only.
If only.
I can commission it. It'll take about a month. It's very tedious
The
getting
chain
those
work.
Oh my god.
Yeah, because even like prefabbed rings are fun to work with.
Is there like a place where travelers tend to hang out in
It
this?
took like a
It would be here.
to
It'd
do
be
just a
here.
sleeve.
So I think I'll hang around here
It was
and try
about
to
3
talk up
weeks, I
some people.
think I got like a full
Okay.
chain mail, but I was doing that
Ask
like
about
4 hours a day.
flying kobolds and dragon.
Sure. So you will stay at the Sapphire Spoon and sort of chat amongst the people as they arrive in sort of the common room, the tavern room, and so on. You are going to head to the Red Wings Metalworks to check out Sokka's brother Sid and see if he can offer you anything that would help. And Agate, are you just sort of like roaming around town trying to...
Head into the guards first.
Okay, yeah.
To see if they can point me in a good direction or if they actually saw anything.
Okay, so Agate, we'll start with you.
Alright.
So you head back out to the sort of...
There's 2 clusters.
You head back out there to the guard's hut.
Mm-hmm.
And sure enough, the door is closed. You lightly rap on it, and again, the figure of Hamath shows up again. He looks considerably more awake now, and he is clearly wearing his traditional sort of leathers. He's got a sword strapped to his side. It's clear that it's now business time, and you have not caught him unawares.
Sorry for
Oh,
the,
it's you again.
Sorry for the rude greeting last night.
Right. I understand it was necessary. I was having an excellent dream, and it was interrupted. Anyway, what can I do for you?
We've come to this area on a mission to attempt to clean up trade in the area.
Well, congratulations, you did it.
Well, maybe not. We've heard rumors of apparently flying kobolds that can breathe fire. There are rumors of a gold dragon in the area. We have to at least look into these things, but if there's nothing to find, then I think you're right. Mission accomplished.
Right.
Have you heard of any of these kobolds or
I've-
gold dragons?
I've heard these stories. I don't know what to make of them. Heads or tails, these people come in scared out of their minds, claiming that they've been attacked by flying kobolds. A ridiculous fucking notion.
Agreed.
Are they in shock? Did they see something that they aren't able to process? Was it actually a dragon, but a really small one that looked like a... I don't know. Who? God, only the gods themselves know.
I put money on illusions.
Well, either way, the frequency of these sightings and these attacks has happened quite regularly and with quite high severity west of town, there on the opposite side. Closer to the mountainous area and the... well, people say it used to be Cerulean, but I don't know if I believe that. I mean, people say that whatever sort of vaguely spooky part of land near their village that's in desperate need of some tourist blood is suddenly the long-lost ruins of Cerulean, blah, 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 you know.
Of course. People looking to convince people to head that way for a quick bit of tourism.
Of course. Look, if you want to head down there and take a look and figure things out, more power to you. We'd be glad to see that somebody's on the job, and somebody capable. But as far as concrete evidence, they didn't give me any, so I don't have any to pass on to you.
Was there anybody who has survived one of these events or seen one of these gold dragons in town?
They've since moved on. Yeah.
Oh.
They didn't stay here long. They looked plenty spooked, and they got out of here as soon as they could. As soon as they were patched up and they were moving about, they got in what was left of their wagon or their caravan, and they got the heck out of Canaria.
I feel like there's not much else to ask at this point. I think we're simply going to meander over, see what true horrors lie over there, and find our way back.
Sorry, whores?
Horrors.
Oh.
Yes.
Oh, sorry, got a little excited there.
Still thinking about that dream?
Well, you have a good day now, you hear?
Of course. Turn and leave.
So, Galahad, you arrive at the sort of small, squat building with a very clear sort of blacksmithing, metalworking style, open air workshop, if you will. Yeah, with a sort of a hanging canopy there, with some discreetly cut holes to sort of let sort of various smokes and sparks sort of move through. Sure enough, there's a thick black column of smoke twisting out of the nearby chimney attached to sort of the proper storefront side of this building, twisting into the air. And you see outside there is a male human, kind of on the short side, probably about 5'7", 5'8" or so. Kind of a rotund figure with a leather apron on, and is very obviously sort of hammering and straightening what looks like a very hot piece of metal into what you probably guess is maybe a short sword, given the sort of size and the width of it. You can see that he has these sort of giant goggles on that are massive leather and massive sort of almost if they had Coke in this world, they would be the size of the bottles that they come in. And he is hard at work. Clink, clink, clink.
If he gets to a point where he does the classic, not tempering, but where they put.
Yeah, he sets his hammer aside and plunges the sword into some very cold water in a sort of a large bucket off to the side.
Are you Sid?
Hey! He sort of peers at you through his goggles. Who's asking?
Galahad. Recently ran into your sister on the road.
He sets the sword aside off onto sort of a nearby stump and flips his goggles up, and you can see sort of some piercing green eyes looking out at you from a full, huge red beard, almost sort of dwarven in its magnificence. Mm-hmm. As he looks at you, Sokka?
Yeah.
What about
her child, Hero? Oh, they were just encountering some unfriendly folk on the road. We helped them pass along. Move
What kind of folk?
The brigands.
Bandits, you mean?
Yes.
Come on, boy, just get to the point. Tell it to me straight. Is she okay?
She's fine.
Oh,
they're
good,
both
good.
She actually showed us a great inn and had a wonderful meal prepared for us. Well, or at least the innkeeper.
Old Spoon, yes. Carlene is certainly good at her business. Yeah. So, I'm sorry, what's your name, young man?
Galahad.
Galahad, yes. Well, I will... And he sort of takes off a leather glove. I'm Sid. Nice to meet you. So, how can I help you? You said you knew Sokka, is that right? She's never mentioned you before.
We've just met her. We came upon her on the road.
Did you...
We asked her for money.
You didn't hurt her or anything, did you? I'm confused.
No.
Okay,
no.
Let's start over at the beginning.
No. We're just here because It seems you are a blacksmith, and we've been commissioned to find some flying...
Hey. No.
Metalworker.
No. That is a common misconception. I am not a blacksmith. I mean, obviously I'm doing blacksmithing right now, but I am merely a novice in that respect. I am, in fact, a jewelry maker. It is my wife, Sydney, who is the blacksmith.
So you're more the silver or goldsmith?
Indeed. And all manner of jewels and so on and so forth. Anything that you might require in the terms of a fine accessory, I am responsible for it. Now, today, as a part of a
introduction,
half training exercise, half challenge, Sydney and I have sort of swapped jobs for the day to see how we fare in each respect. As you can see, and he sort of takes the sword out. You can see that's very clearly sort of warped slightly and curled at the end. I still have quite a lot to learn.
The journey is part of the experience.
Sure.
We're commissioned to investigate some flying creatures nearby. I was wondering if you have anything that might help with that kind of problem. Either you or your wife.
Like a flying machine? I don't...
Flying machine, flying animal, kobold.
Like a bird?
A little bit bigger in size.
God, you're confusing, lad. Get to the point.
Flying kobolds, if you can believe that.
You're not one of those crazy folks, are you?
We're paid to figure that out. If we're the crazy.
Oh, I see. One of the bigwigs from out of town asked you to come by and show pity on us poor Canarians. I see.
Galahad, are we the crazy ones?
We're paid to be crazy.
And
paid to see if there's flying things.
And if I'm following you correctly, you said that you helped Sokka in some way. Is that right?
Yes, there were 4 or 5 brigands.
Good Lord.
Trying to rob her of her valuables.
Well, that won't do. That won't do at all.
No. If you'd like to meet them, 4 of them are in the jail with the guard.
I think I'll pass. I tell you what. Why don't you come in here? I'll introduce you to my wife, and we'll see if we can fix you up with something. And he sort of takes his other glove off and sets those 2 thick leather gloves aside, and gently escorts you inside the business side of the metalworks. And you see that inside the shop is full of mundane but finely crafted examples of their work. You can see all manner of sort of bracelets and necklaces and rings and so on one side. And on the other side you can see common weapons, maces and long swords and sickles and all manner of sort of common sort of weapons and armor available, all good looking, all polished to a sheen. And you see behind the counter a half-dwarven woman, presumably the Sydney that Sid spoke of, his wife. So he walks you inside and, well, take a look around here, lad. If there's anything you like, please let the missus know, and I'm sure she can take care of it, eh? Sid, we got a customer. She looks up. I can see that, Sid. So
it's Sid and Sid.
How can I help you? Are you slacking off again? Go out there and get at least one, I'll say not carved sword, out here and get it done.
You could try for like a scimitar where it's intentionally curved.
I might do that. I might try that. Yeah, I'm gonna work on it. What did you say?
Scimitar?
Scimitar or whatever. I'm gonna do one of those. Yeah, I'll be back in a jiff. You wait and see. He very quickly leaves.
Or what is it? The one where it's just going back and forth constantly.
Oh, the Chris knife?
Like the flame birds or...
Oh. That man. Anyway, sir, what can I do for you?
Do you have any tools or weapons that might help with, like, flying creatures?
Flame-bladed sword.
Like an
like a giant eagle, like a young dragon, flying kobold.
She very quickly sort of like slowly pans around the room, left, right.
Javelins.
I'm
might
afraid
do
we're out of
nets.
stock on those.
Javelins and hand axes might work.
Sure, we've got plenty of those, but I'm afraid we don't have any flying kobolds or dragons in stock. Unless I'm misunderstanding you.
To hunt.
I see.
Such
So you're
creatures.
after them, are you? Okay. Well, we have all manner of weapons and armour available for you. And, wait a minute. I heard about this morning. You're one of the lot that helped Saka out with the trouble on the trade route, is that right?
I'm one of them.
She was gushing to me early this morning about how grateful she was that the three of you arrived when you did.
She might have been complaining about me, though. Keep on trying.
There was a fair amount of complaining, yes?
I'm sorry for the trouble.
Hero was
caused
quite
her.
enthusiastic, I do remember, so there must be some kind of disagreement.
We can
I just
sit
wanted
back,
to inspire the boy.
watch as the foot is slowly inserted
Yeah.
into the mouth.
You deserve a reward for helping out our kin. Yeah, let me, I'll just be right back. And she walks out into a back room through a sort of a thick sort of chainmail curtain.
Instead of like beads, it's chainmail.
And she returns with a sort of a long tray and places it on the countertop. And you can see amongst them there's one item, and there are 5 what look like sketches, like pieces of paper onto which some kind of, not quite a schematic, but not quite a simple drawing either. Something sort of straddling the line
A little
between
bit
the
more
two.
like diagram.
Yeah, like a diagram, if you will. Like a
The prototype.
slightly more
diagram.
detailed sketch. Right. You can see a white gold bangle on the end. And then the other sketches are that of a set of studded leather, a set of chainmail, a glaive, a rapier, and a longbow. These are some of our finest items that I have put work into, and my husband as well.
It's my fine approach.
These are, these are Crystal Keep items. Are you familiar with Crystal Keep?
History. Only 11, so probably maybe not.
You've heard of it before, but you don't know what that's just a buzzword to you. That
Yeah.
You don't know exactly. Well, Crystal Keep, weapons, armor, accessories, that sort of thing. They are specially designed to take advantage of Crystallia, the magic gemstones I've heard. Sure, you've heard of those. Each of those, when you slot them into Crystal Keep accessories, weapons, items, whatever they may be, they are infused with the power of the Crystallia. And you can use them to great effect, apart from, say, a normal blade or a normal piece of armour. It'll do you wonders. And these, I can part with 3 of them. One for you and one for the rest of your... There were 3 of you, is that right?
Yes.
One for each of you. You and your companions.
It's my beacon.
And don't take your pick. I have one of each, obviously. They take a bit of time to craft and make sure that they can hone the arcane energies.
Understandable.
So what can I interest you in?
We got a glaive, a longbow.
Yes,
Brooch.
you can see there we've got a nice glaive, finely balanced. Let's
This
see.
is kind of cool.
A rapier there, a longbow.
Like a glaive.
Now, obviously, the longbow itself is the Crystal Keep, but whatever's fired through the longbow, it takes apart the magical charge. We've got a set of the studded leather and chainmail available. And of course, the bangle here. I don't know how much of a jewellery fan you are, but this too is Crystal Keep as well. It's not merely a bauble.
Do you wear light armor?
No.
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 We're gonna fight over that bauble.
Yes. Because that is literally the only thing either of us can use.
What are you doing? What are you doing? I need to double check if I can use a bow, actually.
Monk don't think so.
Yeah, he's climbing all over things.
I mean, unless you took a feat that allows you to, I'm pretty sure you can't.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think you're right.
It wouldn't count as a monk weapon.
Oh, definitely not. But
Because even with like the remod where you can get like 5 proficiencies, it still has like the 2-handed property thing.
Yep. Yeah, I wouldn't be as worried with that. It's more so, can I gain proficiency? Simple weapons and short swords. Yeah, no.
Yeah, because at least the revision of the classes could, but
Yeah.
it
No,
just
that's
wouldn't be
fine.
classified as monk weapon.
So you need to wield both a glaive and a rapier at the same time.
Leave it away.
Or actually, you can take the armor and the weapon.
I could.
That's true, yeah.
I could.
I've got key points. I have magic already.
So studded leather's 13 plus dex.
Studded leather?
Yeah.
It's 12.
12.
Yeah.
Yeah, because that's plus
Because you have to have mage armor to get 13.
yeah.
Good stuff, though.
I mean, if they had a longsword, that would be fine, but they don't.
So, Sydney is still sort of like patiently waiting for you to make your selection.
I know the bangle. Probably the glaive. I can probably take the glaive. I don't know what would fit. Well, they would probably be fighting over the jewelry, to be honest.
Well, no, if you're not sure about your companions, you can certainly take them back with you and they can make their own decisions.
Make their own decisions. Then I won't be the messenger who's shot.
Exactly. Yes. Prove you're a wee bit wiser than my husband there. Very frequently ferries information from me to, say, an important recipient, a merchant perhaps, and gets it not exactly right. So, you're looking for the bangle, certainly, yes?
Yes, certainly.
Very good. And she sort of hands that over to you. That will be yours. And we'll have your companions come back and figure things out, yes? And we're open all day today. We've got a lot of work to do. So you're welcome to come back at any time.
Now I wear the bangle.
Yep,
Now
exactly.
you have to fight over.
Exactly.
Yeah, she gave me one magic item. It's
Yep.
really cool. Yeah.
It's great.
No,
I'll hold on to it, guys.
I mean,
Don't
she
worry.
said something about never coming back there again.
Or I wear also like the chainmail and the glaive, and it's
Yeah.
just like
And a bangle.
And a bangle.
and the bangle.
I mean,
They were having a
to be
sale.
fair.
How you doing, guys?
She sort of gestures at you. Now, I don't know what your financial situation is like, but if you're looking for anything else of a magical variety, I can sell it to you for a decent price.
We might not have all the funds, as we're only given a slight upfront.
That's understandable. They don't
But-
want to. They don't want to send along a bank to.
Especially if it's only rumors.
Don't want to send a bank to do a coins job.
But I'll give them the offers that you have put forth, and we'll be back hopefully soon.
Very good. We'll see you soon. Oh, exciting! Dog.
Because I heard licking, it was like, oh, everybody's licking.
Okay. Let's stop there.
Take
We
it
have a
out.
whole other half of this.
Yep.
What I'm suggesting, since we haven't gotten to the keep of the Kobold Queen yet, but you're about to. You'll learn some more information here and move on. I need to get some survey feedback and everything to Benjamin before the end of the month. Well, around the end of the month, right?
Okay.
And so what I'd like to do is, if all of you,
Don't eat it.
since there are only the 3 of you, Francis, come on, Francis.
What is it?
He's trying to eat his own poop back here.
Oh, do I need to clean that up?
There's no need for you to do it, Lance. I'll do it.
I'm used to
You don't live here.
And he takes
He
your
took your
seat
spot, by the way.
just
Anyway, what I'm suggesting is if the three of you are available this... I know this is kind of displacing, but if three of you are available this coming Tuesday...
Crazy, apparently.
Yeah, we can check in with G.
Yeah, why not? Well, let's just finish this up so that even if G is not available, we can just
keep going.
Wrap this up, and that'll be well before the month end date, so that when the survey comes around, I can give some more concrete information about the whole thing.
Yeah.
Now, he said that even if I had just read the playtest and not delivered it in its entirety, actually playtested it, that would have given some
idea,
some good feedback, right? But I'm hoping to sort of at least get a full playthrough of it. Okay.
Yeah.
So if that's okay with you guys, then I mean that obviously
get us an extra week.
Gives you an extra week, right? But if you guys are available Tuesday night, then let's just go ahead and wrap this up.
I don't know. You'd be the one there.
Well, I think Greg will still be fine this week, but that's only a maybe because he's having heart surgery, and so he might be in Indy for about a month.
Yeah,
just getting
it's a
more
process.
advanced pacemaker put in.
I see.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm sure the recovery on that is.
Yeah.
They keep you for probably a couple.
When
of weeks.
when would you know?
Well, I mean, I can always try to shoot Greg a message.
I always try to shoot Greg.
Yeah, shoot Greg.
That's why he needs the pacemaker. You're always trying to.
Well, will you let us know and see so that we can sort of try to iron this out? Because I want to get it taken care of before January is over, so that we can get a full experience, right? Well, okay. Well, even if it doesn't happen, so what did you think so far about the adventure? Now, try to separate. I know when you
do the impossible.
When we're doing playtesting an adventure, I know it's very difficult to try to separate the mechanical, the numbers of it, and everything from the interpretation that a DM sort of provides, right? Mm-hmm. So if you can, just provide some feedback about the basic structure of the adventure, the monsters and enemies, that you fought and everything like that, the quest kind of design, rather than how good the guy
the number
died.
well,
or you know what I mean. The experiential stuff is different from the nuts and bolts, right? Because that's really what's going to be very helpful, right? Is the nuts and bolts stuff. Is this an original enough a sort of plot thread? Or does it hew enough to JRPG tropes, or does it embrace them too fully? Just if you can, just give some feedback about how you felt about that.
Trying to dig back into JRPG days.
Yeah.
I mean, I definitely like the overall structure of it. They've got that nice setup of helping somebody on the road to get an in with the town. Mm-hmm. So you have that more focused experience instead of, you have reached the second town, what do you do?
Yeah. Right. Go to the shop and then forget to stock up on
I imagine the Crystal Keep items is going to be something special for this, so...
Yeah, the Crystallia and the Crystal Keep thing are a key part of this JRPG document experience. So that would be something that everybody. So
having his sister be the one you saved on the road is a really good end to that, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Sokka having Sid's brother. It's an easy way to sort of introduce that kind of stuff in an organic way. Mm. And you guys are going to get a chance to later. I won't say 100%, but you'll very likely get a chance to actually utilize these Crystal Keep accessories by then slotting in Crystallia, so you can see how it works.
Depending on which one of us kills the other one for the bangle.
Yeah. Sure, yeah. I mean, there may be a brutal murder.
I mean, if I start off with threes...
As I said, I have key powers. I
have no need for that stuff.
Yeah, that's always I think one of the hardest things to do when you're writing an experience is to write something that is dare I say, expecting of the players. Mm-hmm. Where you look at it and you go, how do you set up loot when you don't know what your party composition is going to be like?
Right, yeah.
And I always think it's nigh impossible to find good stuff for monks. Mm-hmm. It's just hard to do.
That is where you do kind of the accessory stuff, where it doesn't hinder, but it
You can find that kind of nice.
You usually lean into like items
Easy
and
way out.
accessories. At least that's what I would do.
Gauntlets.
Or, try to fully
Some rings, some necklaces.
try to fully invest in like the plausibility of what the enemies are carrying on them, and then send the appropriate enemies to give the appropriate loot, so to
Items.
speak. Right?
Yeah.
Like if you needed your monk to get some kind of cool stuff, why not send an order of evil monks after them? Like it makes perfect sense. Like, or have them come across martial artists or some of some kind, right? In the same way that fighting sort of normal soldiers is going to give a fighter or a paladin, helpful stuff, right?
Yeah. Could drag those crossbows back if they weren't on fire.
Technically, you guys talked me into that second Burning Hands.
Metagame wise, yes.
Out of
Yes, but let's try to maneuver back to the sort of basics of the adventure. I will say that I'm not entirely in love with the. I think it's an overused trope. I like the elegance of it, but the wagon broke. I mean, if you think about it, that's literally one of the inciting incidents for Lost Mine of Fendelver,
Yeah.
right?
Is coming across.
And I don't know whether that is, as we're sort of, I think it's safe to say we're veteran players of 5e at this point.
Yeah.
That seems fair.
That maybe for newer players or people who are coming in with just JRPG experience and not that, maybe that's still fresh and welcoming. But it seems like it takes at least a particular effort on the DM's part in order to make that
Feel
more than a
original.
trope, right?
Yeah.
To feel more than a...
Because it is very hard to like.
I don't know. Even JRPG stuff. That seems
No, you're
pretty-
absolutely right. The JRPG plays in with like
I mean, that
writing
still
tropes
seems-
and stuff all the time.
pretty still with the as a trope. It seems pretty still as a trope, even with the
JRPG.
Okay, so with the JRPG trappings, it still feels kind of rote, is what you're
Yeah.
saying. Yeah, okay, yeah.
I mean, like I said, it was a good end, and I'm not sure if you could find a better way to do that. But
My thinking is that I think it's going to depend on. I don't know what sort of like.
Target audience.
Well, no, I don't know what the document is going to have in terms of like, if any, some like strong like setting material, right? If it's going to be more mechanically focused or more sort of like world building and setting flavor focused, I think you could probably make this introduction a lot more lively if you tied it into some sort of heavy world building stuff. Like, what kind of wagon is this? Like, maybe you turn it on its head and you make Sokka, for instance, currently ferrying some Crystallia, to
intro.
Sid
Yeah.
or Sydney in order to sort of work, right? And that's your first introduction to that, and there's the possibility of like the Crystallia getting damaged in some way in the attack, and then maybe some kind of magical thing goes awry. It creates a little bit of a sense of spontaneity and danger there, and it also kind of weaves into the Crystallia and the Crystal Keep stuff. Like,
And then you could get it like repaired at Sid's place.
or something like that, right? Now that may be like that introduces a concern about power balance, right? It's like, what happens if all of them are destroyed, or what happens if you start with so many Crystallia that like you're overpowered. I mean, those are concerns to add, but there are ways, I think, to spice up this initial encounter to make it a little less tropey, right?
Bandits in a caravan. Yeah.
And I think we're all agreed that
That's
it's not tropey in the warm JRPG sense, which is like, insecure boy with anime hair saves the universe kind of thing. It's instead kind of fantasy tropey, right? Which is a little less exciting,
brand.
right? Yeah, it's not as on brand, right? That's my concern, and I think the rest of it is just this. To me, anyway, this feels like an adventure that's trapped between the world of Dungeons and Dragons and the world of a JRPG, right? And it's not quite. It hasn't comfortably committed to
It's not
either
a
one of
bridge.
those things. It's kind of a rickety bridge, right?
Yeah.
And so I don't exactly know Benjamin's sort of design aims with this thing precisely. So I can't tell whether that's a good thing, if that's intending with the design, because it's supposed to be a kind of a slowly delicately morph your 5e game into a JRPG, or if it's supposed to be something more sort of forward and sort of thorough in its transformation. Right? I don't know. Those are questions that I have after, having run part of it.
Yeah.
So.
Trying to think if you could do the other classic JRPG trope of you've been thrown out of town for reasons likely not directly related to you.
You accidentally ate the wrong man's lunch at a fair, and now you're on trial at the castle. Common problems.
Oh yes.
Yeah.
Did you find a sword in a lake and decided to pull it out?
You know how it is.
You know, it happens. Yeah,
What's this
trying to think
magic bow doing out here?
Yeah, I'm trying to think of like what other kind of fun introductory things you could do that still play into that. You gotta investigate these flying kobolds,
right?
In theory.
Yeah. So what we're trying to do, I think, is we certainly don't want to sort of redesign wholesale the adventure or anything like that. Nor do we want the DM to approach this and go, well, let me really remix stuff up. They of course have that right, and they're more than welcome to do so. But
how do you get them off on the right foot?
How do you make sure that the structure and the ladder and everything is sound enough that they won't necessarily want to go too many rungs off?
Yeah. And still helps like their creative juices.
Yeah.
It's that weird thing where it's like, well, a lot of JRPGs will borrow from more Western mythology.
From fantasy stuff, yeah. I mean, there's a definite like feedback loop there, right?
But it does immediately kind of throw that into question of like, all right, are we playing something with a JRPG twist? I almost want, like, if you go with kobolds, you need to describe them in that more Japanese understanding of the mythology, to really help separate it from that stronger European fantasy.
So aesthetically, maybe linguistically, just in a couple of different respects, move away from sort of the default Dungeons and Dragons kind of trappings, and move into more of a JRPG sort of.
Because I'm sitting here and trying to go, if we sat down and you didn't tell us this was a JRPG, what would tip us off to it?
Okay, yeah.
And I'm starting to run into moments where it's like, the gate was one where I'm like, that leans a little bit more JRPG-ish. The whistling at the gates.
Well, yeah, but that I improv that, so that's like that's not in the gates are supposed to be closed at night because that's a fantasy thing, of course,
You
but
close the gates.
For me the first thing that really screams JRPG is the fact that
the God of like trade and commerce kind of did. The baubles.
Not even that.
Had a bit of a feel for me.
The first thing for me is the Crystalia, or the Crystal Keep.
Yeah.
Well, before that, it's of course the meals giving you sort of
bonuses,
right?
Yeah.
That's something I really appreciate. Anytime you can take a little bit of mechanics and put it onto something that otherwise becomes kind of rote and boring, especially if it's just kind of as light as it's been done here.
So those things are
nice.
Are sprinkled in, and they help to reinforce the JRPG feel. And I think I'm agreeing with you here, Stephen, is that sort of the overarching kind of journey of this this adventure, at least so far, right, feels too much like a traditional Dungeons and Dragons adventure, and not like a strong JRPG kind of feel, right?
The JRPG doesn't come out in the narrative; it comes out more in like the.
It does, yeah. It
the
does
style,
come out in
codified
mechanics,
the
more.
aesthetic. There are a couple of things. Well, obviously there's a spectrum of JRPGs where you're like clearly fantasy influenced, and then more like kind of post-apocalyptic or industrial. It's like Final Fantasy VII is hardly a fantasy game anymore, right?
It's
because this is a little bit more like the earlier.
Yeah, the early Final Fantasies are obviously very clearly inspired by Dungeons and Dragons, as was Dragon Quest and that sort of thing, right? They're emulations of OD&D and AD&D, right? So
I was looking at like from a mechanics point of view, finding ways to sneak in if it does end up being more of a mechanics thing, then like new base classes, just remix them a little bit.
Well, I'm sure that those things are going to be included in the greater document. Like, I mean, obviously the advanced classes. The legend of Cerulean mentions that there's mages and magical practitioners who can mimic monsters' abilities. Like that's blue mage right across the bow, right?
Yeah.
So those things are outside of the scope of this playtest. So I wouldn't be concerned with that per se, but.
Yeah, because you had said you could maybe go into those.
Right, after the adventure, you could, if you're continuing with those same characters, you could then go into those advanced classes, right, or something like that.
Yeah.
Because they're supposed to be, maybe I'm mistaken, maybe this isn't an old form of this idea, but it's supposed to be more like a job system, right?
Yeah.
So that you could go classes and advanced classes and stuff like that.
Kind of pick up levels, gain abilities.
Switch your job.
Yeah.
But that's, of course, again, beyond the scope of this playtest, right?
Yeah.
So the feeling that I'm getting is that in the basic sort of narrative thread and the very basic sort of the overarching macro design of the adventure itself, that it's too much like a stock fantasy adventure and not enough like a JRPG style adventure.
Yeah,
it doesn't scream like Evilise or something at you, right?
Yeah, it needs some more of that kind of flavor and flair to really sell that idea.
And that depends on whether or not this greater JRPG document is, if that's part of the goal, and if they're going to include that kind of setting material. If he's going to include the setting material, I don't know. That's a good question. But it's okay to not have any answers to that.
Yeah.
Obviously, we're just
welcome
We're
to
hashing
giving
stuff
him
out.
questions, maybe.
Questions to think about, right? Which is good.
As part of place testing feedback.
Yeah. I mean, it might be worthwhile if you are looking into those kind of things to do a DM section on how to sell this as more of a JRPG feel than a D&D feel.
Sure, yeah. Rather than making it a sort of a setting plus mechanics book like you would an Eberron or something like that, you could just carve out a section, maybe 10 pages about like, hey, do you like Final Fantasy Tactics? Well, lean into the sort of medieval mercenary kind of vibe and do this and do this and do this and make it feel like that JRPG or this JRPG. Like, you could easily do that, and I think that will smooth
Touchstones.
that'll smooth the problem over of this adventure being too basic fantasy tropey. But I don't think it'll solve the problem. I think it just kind of paves it over. Right? It again puts more workload on the DM to do that rather than built into the adventure itself.
Yeah.
Which is a complicated question. Like how much of the work do you do as the designer do you do, and how much of the work do you leave for your DM to do? Right.
Yeah. And that comes down to the groups you look at.
Right.
There's plenty who will look at a setting and go, I like the ideas of this setting, I'm going to remix it and run with it. And others who will go, I'm glad I have a source book
word for word
to build to run a world off.
But also you think like anyone could pick up the book with any level of sort of experience with Dungeons and Dragons 5e, say, and want to participate in it. And so you kind of have to design to the most inexperienced possible member, right? Because otherwise you're shortchanging people who just stumble upon the thing, or who are interested but are not, who haven't DM'd before, aren't veterans or something like that. So I personally think you need to err on the side of spelling things out a little bit more, making it clear that, like, here's the structure, here's the stuff, here's some questions for you, the DM, that you could possibly answer or ignore completely, and then very clearly telegraphing to them, like, hey, if you're comfortable with improvising, then do it. But here's the ladder, here's the structure, the scaffolding, if you will, right? It's up to you to sort of cover things up, right? So in that respect, I think, the text of the adventure needs more, like, prompting on the part of the reader to say, look, I know you bought a JRPG document, but if you've only played one, like, let's really give our players and you the strong kind of feel of it to make sure that everyone's on the same page, right? Because you're right, that's actually It's a good point that you made, which is that if I didn't tell you it was a JRPG thing, you wouldn't really have known too much until you
we hit the mechanics of the meal.
Until you
and
hit the meal
Crystalia,
mechanics and everything,
yeah.
and went like, oh, wait a minute, that's...
Yeah, and then, I mean, that's something that I've seen other people do as well, of trying to make meals have a
Yeah,
mechanical
that's not
benefit.
exclusive to JRPGs or to this supplement, right? People
But admittedly,
played
it leans
around with
into
this
it.
stuff.
Yeah. Which, yeah. It's got that kind of Monster Hunter feel.
Yep.
Yeah, which itself is technically a JRPG, right? We don't think of it necessarily like that. It's
In the classical sense.
in the classical canon, it's not really, but it is. I mean, it's overly complicated, but you know.
Which that in itself is a JRPG.
Yeah.
Yes, but there's
Having
complicated, and then there's overly
customizable?
complicated.
Yes.
You
can make any
okay,
kind of-
well, you know, does anybody else have any other sort of observations or they don't even have to be, you know, they might be questions, or they're just like, yeah, if there's something you liked and did or didn't like.
I mean, like the setup for it.
The cleric sort of hiring you to investigate.
Yeah, you get that strong. Here's the guy setting this up for you.
I have
clear connection and reason.
I have felt often like, and maybe this is a false memory, but I feel like in a lot of RPGs, like there's, and especially JRPGs, I'm thinking of Octopath Traveler right now, which is where there's like a religious authority figure who's like, help me with this, you know, with the blessing of the church or something like that. That makes
the ritual needs to be done.
Yeah, that makes sense to me, but as we said before, it feels like a fantasy quest giver and not a JRPG quest giver because the basics are...
It's got to be flavored the right way.
Yeah.
Which usually means
I'm a big
the
fan of
church is
world
evil.
building, so if
Yeah.
I was going to do it, I'd make institutions where classes could come from, like the Mage Academy
Yeah.
and the Warriors Guild. And it's basically, you start there, they give you orders, and set you on this path.
Okay, so sort of... so what you're suggesting is to, depending on the party makeup, to sort of have a couple of threads and say like, okay, well, you're superior at... You're professor at the Mage Academy, or you're cleric at the local temple of God of you know, Traveler or whatever, has asked you to do this. I can understand that sort of better serving a sense of world building and flavor, but at the same time, that might overcomplicate the beginning to the point where you're juggling several things at once.
That expands the introduction.
Depending on the composition of your party, if you've got a lot of players and they're in all different classes, it may be difficult to sort of
It's the
weave all
classic,
that in organically.
Oh,
right?
we're in the middle of the city. What are you doing? Just all that.
Yeah, everybody's doing their own thing, right? I think there's some value in that idea, but there's also
situations.
there's also some possible downsides with that.
I mean, you can really trim it down as like, just like a 5-minute spiel of this is a letter you received that says this.
Sure. Okay. Yeah. You could, instead of having a sort of one-on-one personal thing, you could have like a missive or a letter sent, or
Because
something
if you're
like
all
that.
part of a guild,
Or some kind of magical transmission.
they
or
probably
something.
just are
And
hiring it. And
I think that would
guildmaster's
be
like,
a really good
"Here,
setup to
We're sending you.
put a party
Pass that
together
down.
where they don't know each other.
Right. Yeah.
And,
And also to
That classic meet cute.
and also to seed NPCs that could, of course, be used later, or naturally sort of connected to your job, right? Your path, right? But again, that's more work on the DM, right?
Yeah.
So,
Yep.
It's where
do you leave them to do that, or do you spell that out? And if doing so, how much do you spell that out? And how much is that going to increase the word count, which in turn increases the editorial costs, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, right? It's complicated, right?
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
it's nothing's ever simple. That's why we got into this.
But there's some merit in that idea. It's something to consider. Yeah.
Yeah, and that could easily be a little sidebar where you go, if you're going for a longer campaign play, here's a way to
And you want to
setting
start
that
with
up.
this.
Yeah.
Actually, it's a great idea for sidebar. Yeah, if you want to start a campaign with this, why not do it this way and start seeding in NPCs that you can use later on? Right? Yeah. Anything else?
Honestly, as far as was the gift of the magic items something in the thing?
Yes.
Or I would suggest giving the DM more leeway than what to add there, just because, party composition, like what we had here.
Yeah, I would lean into the idea of have like 2, 3, or 4 that always show up, and then maybe pick a couple from certain types of classes.
Yeah. So a handful of items that have already been kind of prescribed, right, in the document.
Yeah, we're
and
about there.
then something
Just
like
be home
a martial
half an
weapon
hour or so.
of your choice or something like
Yeah.
that.
Mm-hmm.
So to better accommodate for
'Cause
different
if they-
party composition.
If
Yeah,
they have
it
different
makes
stats or whatever, you could just
Okay.
copy and paste them if they're just templates.
Well, really,
Depending
the
on how it works.
the Crystal Keep items are just they are simple
They're
versions.
just-
They're just the thing that they are, but they
Until
also
you
have a
slot.
slot. And those things add additional sort of traits to them rather than changing the fundamental physics or work of, say, a rapier or something like that.
Yeah.
The rapier itself doesn't change per se. It's just that this extra trait is added onto this
Yeah.
thing. In the same
And
way
kill
that
fire.
in the same way that if you get like a flaming sword in Diablo or something like that, it's still a sword,
Yeah.
but there's also this flame element attached to it.
1
You know
to
what I
3
mean?
fire.
Yeah,
Kind
yeah.
of like what
Yeah.
Jared did in the one game he run a long time ago, where we each got fire gems and stuff.
Yeah, kind of like
Yeah.
that. Yeah. They sort of add on to the weapon rather than transform it. Right. Yeah. Well, that's a good notion, I think. So you split the difference between giving a novice DM some clear. This is the item that they have available. That's what they can take, and also all right. Well, if you do have a party of 3 monks for some reason, say, they can actually get something
lot
very
of
helpful out
baubles.
of this,
Yeah.
right? Yeah.
Yeah, because that's always that hard thing to try to write for. Because
Well, yeah, because you can't really anticipate every possible combination of players and characters.
what do you get a party that's like a monk, a druid, and a wizard?
3 coffins.
Yeah, basically.
Staff, and
Yeah, it's all
gauntlets.
Yeah, that's when we were like, it's not. It lacks that kind of fun flavor to it. But I'm glad they added armor in there.
Yeah.
because I feel like far too often it's like, oh, you're getting
Just
weapons.
weapons, yeah.
Yeah,
And
armor's
weapons a
important.
lot more hit and miss, because usually, people could actually wear
Yeah,
some sort of armor.
Yeah.
Yeah, so in that respect, it's broad, but the details, the particularities of the weapons and armor and accessories could be broader, at least in some respects, to accommodate for weird parties, right? Or parties that use more simple weapons than they do martial weapons or
Yeah.
whatever, right? Yeah.
I mean, to borrow an idea from Diablo, as you bring that up, one of those things where one of the characters is a blacksmith who's able to add a socket to a weapon.
I'm sure there are possibilities in that later.
Yeah.
I'm just again, we're sort
To
of
work with what we've got.
yeah,
Yes.
we're working with what we've got,
Yeah.
right? I'm sure that there's some kind of function, later in sort of the document that'll say if you go to a bigger enough city and a blacksmith can turn a regular weapon into a crystal keep weapon, but obviously that's beyond the scope of
Yeah,
The startup,
has to be time.
right, yeah. But I think it's a good point. Maybe offer some
We're going to add a
some
slot.
weapon equals X or armor equals X kind of thing, so that the
Yeah.
DM could decide exactly what.
It's
You
more
can
like
fill in those
Fill in the
weird
blank,
spots.
yeah.
give the DM a heads up of we're going to give them this. Be mindful of your players.
Be mindful also that your
Yep.
player might be all
Give them
rogues.
something that they might actually enjoy
Yeah,
and use.
well, definitely could use, right?
Mm-hmm.
Without penalty of some kind, right? Yeah. Okay. Anything else? At least for this first part.
I don't think so.
Yeah. Nothing else is coming to mind yet.
Okay, well, I think that's some decent pieces of feedback. I think, given that we're not done with it yet,
Yeah.
and obviously when we do finish it, we'll have a better idea of the thing in its totality, and we'll see if how we
Yeah.
feel about it then, right? Is this something you'd apart from ignore me?
Yes, ignore you.
Is this something that you would want to see to the end? Is this something that you want to finish?
Yeah.
Does it motivate you to
I want to see these
Oh,
kobold.
you want to see what the fine kobolds are?
Yeah.
There's nothing better than a good mystery.
I could see it be like paper mache, or actually be like
Well, the breathing fire thing is difficult with paper mache. I think they would
Well, I know,
definitely-
like the wings are like paper mache, and they actually like the blue magic where they can
I
actually
see,
breathe,
okay,
but
I
like
see.
the wings are like super fake.
See,
Clever,
I'm
clever.
still leaning on like you've got a wizard out there who's just like messing with people, and it's mostly illusions, but is still actually
so
killing people.
basically a Scooby-Doo villain at this
Yeah,
point.
exactly.
Smoke and mirrors.
But yeah, I'm definitely. It does motivate me to see where this goes.
Yeah, it's a good enough hook where it's like, okay, what's going on?
Yeah.
What's interrupting trade? You might not
Kobolds
be.
that can fly.
Yeah, I mean, it's you look into D&D and some of the advanced books for it, and it's like, yeah, okay, there's kobolds who actually have wings.
Yeah, it's like in Dragon Jutsu.
Yeah. Oh no, it's actually like a type of kobold.
Yeah.
They're like I think draconic apprentices or something like that, or I can't remember what exactly, but it's still enough there where it's like as long as your world isn't 100% sure what's going on there, you can sell players on that same idea of no wait what?
Right.
Hold on.
Yeah.
Because you could do other things like
Orcs in Japan are a lot more pig-like than.
Oh, it's just winged kobold. There you go.
Yeah, I was about to say, I thought it was just, there's a version of just winged kobold. I seem to remember that.
Than like the Western idea of orcs. And that's where you could get like descriptions.
The Norse idea of works.
Will you please send me the recording of this so that I can go ahead and send it on to Benjamin, just in case something goes awry and we can't finish it? Like,
Yeah,
Just make
at
sure we're
least
not
get
like
this
super
far out.
deep voiced.
well,
I mean, he'll be able to understand. If
yeah, I
that
mean,
happens. It's not that.
if
bad.
we're all
Editing.
if we're all Tim Curry from Legend, I don't think that's going to be a
nice.
problem. But
Tim Curry.
Tim Curry in general, I'll take.
obviously, you can.
pretty solid.
The best thing to do would be to cut out all the character creation stuff and start at the.
Yeah, I think we started.
Yeah.
Ended
All
up
the
starting an
salad
hour
talk.
in.
Yeah, let's jump straight to the salad talk. It's so
The vital.
cut all that out and start at the cleric's introduction and stuff.
Yeah, I think I've got the exact timestamp for that, so that should
Well, that's
be
good. Yeah.
doable.
I don't want.
I was gonna figure
I don't
out
want
like
to
we should
slog
have.
through the
Yeah.
very quiet penciling just to get to the.
It's I think it ended up being almost exactly an hour when I started it. Maybe an hour and 50 seconds.
Okay.
But yeah, it's like right on that edge.
It didn't bother me, but I know that if I were listening to it to try to get
like
To where to
criticism.
actually start.
yeah.
Because even if you just give them a timestamp of
Jump
different
to
media
here,
players
it's-
of like, no, I'm not quite at the front. It's like,
I hate
now
that
I have
so
to be.
much, yeah. It's one of those things where it's like when people say, "Oh yeah, we're gonna, we're doing a spoiler cast on something. If you want to skip it, skip
Skip to
ahead
here."
to this point." And I'm like,
Fat thumb.
"How many minutes is that?" So I can tap through the 30-second skip to get there.
Right.
Oh yeah. But I don't edit things. What are you talking about?